Welcome into WarUp on a WPIAL. Greg Warnock, Jeff Upson with you here, recapping the state championships, and it was a lot of fun to see this past weekend. And we're going to jump right into it just to kind of give you an outline of what we have for the show. All 9 WPIAL wrestlers who brought home a gold medal from Hershey are joining us on the show today. Super excited to talk to all 9 wrestlers. And with that, how we're going to lay out the show, we're going to just talk about each weight before we bring the wrestler on. So the first 9 weights we're going to cover are the 9 weights where WPIAL brought home a gold medal, and then from there we'll talk about the other weight classes in both AA and AAA where the WPIAL did not have a gold medalist. So that's the layout of the show, and the first one we're going to have coming up is going to be Rocco Welsh of Waynesburg. And Jeff, he was a champion at 172 pounds. He did it in tremendous fashion. 3 technical falls and a fall to win the gold medal. He was neck and neck, in my opinion, with the Outstanding Wrestler Award. Pearson Manville gets it, and well-deserved for beating 2 state champs, but Rocco had to be in that conversation because of how dominant he was. But the WPIAL was dominant in this entire weight class. All 4 wrestlers medal here. Matthew Furman in 4th place, Logan Hoffman of Bell Vernon in 6th place, and Connor Jacobs of Armstrong in 7th.
Yeah, this was a huge weight class for the WPIL, but first and foremost, Rocco Welsh was absolutely dominant. Outside of Dayton Pitzer and Dubway, I don't know if there was a more dominant wrestler in the state than Rocco Welsh. You look at what he was able to do, 3 tech falls, including one in the finals. He did it in 5 minutes in the finals against the number 2 ranked guy in the state, Dom DiAugustino. You know, it actually worked out pretty perfect for our rankings because they finished 1, 2, 3, 4 in the rankings. You look at Matt Furman, what he was able to do. I'm not surprised at all that he finished 4th in the state. And we talked about, he's wrestling Rocco Welsh every week. It was an impressive performance by him. He had a couple close matches. He was neck and neck with Tucker Hogan, but Rocco Welsh, clearly the cream of the crop here. But the fact that they got all 4, Logan Hoffman and Connor Jacobs. Connor Jacobs is probably one of the most improved wrestlers of the season thus far. He really impressed me here in Hershey. He's been impressing me the last few weeks. So it's just really great to see that the WPIAL got all 4 guys here. And that just leads to the argument that absolutely you cannot lose that 4th qualifier.
Yeah, and there were several 4th place guys who we'll talk about throughout the show that came away with medals. And it just goes to show that the WPIAL definitely deserves to have 4 people go on to the state tournament because they can get them all on the award stand. So speaking of Rocco Walsh, we'll try to get him on the show with us right now. And an impressive performance throughout the entire weekend at 172 pounds for the WPIAL. And yeah, Jeff, I agree with you. Matthew Furman, one heck of a tournament as well. Between him, Logan Hoffman, Connor Jacobs, impressive performances.
Well, and the only losses that Matt had were both to Tucker Hogan. So
yeah,
I mean, you look at how he was able to traverse through the weight class. I mean, he had a 1-0 decision opening the round over Kellen Blasi, lost to Tucker Hogan on a very tight 6-5 match. And then he storms all the way back. He gets another match with Cole Bartram from Northern York, who he wrestled in the King of the Mountain finals, beat him 9-4, 12-7 over Bechtold, and then a 5-3 loss to Tucker Hogan. So I was really impressed with all 4 of these wrestlers here in the WPIAL at 172.
Waiting on Rocco Walsh to see if he's joins. I know he was out with some family, so try not to take up much of his time, but wanted to grab him for a couple minutes, talk about his performance. I talked about it throughout our radio broadcast on WJPA, Jeff. It's Rocco Welsh was he had to be in that conversation of the Outstanding Wrestler Award. And if Pearson Manville doesn't beat 2 defending state champions, I think Rocco wins it hands down.
I mean, I think he should. I think he should have won it hands down in that case. I mean, obviously, with what Pearson Manville was able to do, beat 2 returning state champs, that's impressive, and that's worthy enough of getting the OW award. However, in terms of domination, there was no other wrestler in AAA that was as dominant as Rocco Welsh was. Nathan Desmond was very dominant, but Rocco Welsh he mauled the competition. So I would agree with you. If they were going to give an award for the most dominant, it would be Rocco Welsh, no doubt.
Rocco mentioned to give him a buzz back. Jeff, I think he said he's on it right now. So if we see if we can grab him. Doing all of our interviews via Skype, so obviously hoping technology agrees with us here. Any luck, Jeff?
No, nothing.
Well, as we wait for that, just to kind of give you a lineup idea so everybody knows, what other wrestlers we have coming up. We got Vinny Kilkiri joining us here in just a little bit. After that, we'll have Jared Kessler joining us, and then Brian Finnerty, Rune Lawrence, Ty Waters, Dylan Evans, Dayton Pitzer, and wrapping things up with Mac Church. So those are the wrestlers we'll be having on here in just a little bit, and to talk a little bit about their performance at the state tournament.
I just texted Rocco the link here, so hopefully that will solve the issue here.
Okay, and I just sent you his live ID just in case you needed it. If you need to make sure it matches up.
There he is.
There he is, Rocco Welsh, kind enough to join us. Rocco, thanks for joining us during your family time. We appreciate it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm actually not going out to eat anymore. I decided just to stay home. So.
Well, we appreciate you making a few minutes for us. Rocco, talk a little bit about your performance at Hershey. Obviously, back-to-back finishes in second place. No one wanted it more than you did at the state tournament, and it showed by your dominant performance.
Yeah, I mean, I felt really good the whole tournament. I think I peaked pretty well. My training, everything was calculated pretty well. And this year meant a lot to me because, I came up short my freshman and sophomore year. So I really needed this one to, just to finally get my first state title. So this one felt really good.
You've had quite a transition from your freshman year to now. Freshman year at 126 pounds, now all the way up to 172. Talk about what it's been like just kind of wrestling different individuals like that from your freshman year all the way till now.
Yeah. Now that I've gone into like the upper, the higher weights, I've realized that like the kids don't scramble as much. It's kind of just like it's mostly hand fighting, and the kids are all fairly strong. So I mean, it's still wrestling, so it hasn't changed too much. But I mean, you can definitely tell that like the kids want a slower pace and stuff like that. But I think I've kept some of my characteristics as like a wrestler. I still got some speed, I think, and explosiveness. So I think that helps me out the upper weights for sure.
Rocco, what's the plan for the summer? I know you do a lot of freestyle. You do a lot of summer wrestling. What's the goal for you? Is it a Fargo championship? Is it to make a world team? What's next for Rocco Welsh?
I'm still deciding if I'm going to. I'm definitely doing Fargo, but I got to decide if I'm going to do junior world team trials in Las Vegas. I'm going to be ready either way, but I'm going to figure that out in the next day or two. You know what I mean? So I can start training and peaking for that, because I'm already ready to go as of right now. You know what I mean? So I'm just taking a couple of days off to relax, my mind and stuff, and then we'll see if I have to get back on it soon. So.
And Rocco, one decision you made it to verbally commit to Ohio State. Talk a little bit about your decision going into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a great place. I loved all the coaches, all the guys there. Sammy Sasso had a lot to do with it. I like him a lot. He helped me like make it feel like home, Ohio State. So and I like to stay, kind of close to home. All the other colleges I was looking at were kind of like further than that. So 2.5 hours is like perfect. You know what I mean? So and obviously the recruiting class is crazy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Obviously, with Feldman, you got one of the guys who's coming up. Next one we'll be talking to shortly, Vinny Kilkeary. So you guys have a lot of talent coming there to Ohio State.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm excited about it.
Awesome. Well, hey, congratulations on getting a state gold, and we're super excited to see you wrestle this summer and see how things go here coming into your senior year.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Rocco.
Right, thanks, Rocco.
Yep, I'll see you guys.
Rocco Welsh kind enough to join us on the show, and Jeff, we'll jump right into Vinny Kilkeary's weight class at 120 pounds. And Vinny Kilkeary, he was dominant in his performance as well. You look at his final, he wins by major decision 12-3 against Mason Leapart. The match that a lot of people were looking forward to, Camden Williams, a guy who beat him a year ago. To me, he just looked stronger than ever. He just was confident, and he just was super exciting to watch. He's one of those guys I just love watching each and every time he steps on the mat. WPIAL also gets 3 medalists here. Jacob Haupt, he had a great tournament, beats Asher Cunningham and Sean Logue to get to the semifinals. Ends up falling down to 6th place. Troy Trafford finishes in 7th place.
I mean, Vinny Kilkeary looked like the old Vinny. He looked like 106-pound Vinny, and that's why he won, because he opened up, he let it fly. You saw it throughout the tournament. He had a tough road too. I mean, after Horvath, he had Mason Ziegler, returning state medalist, a guy who's not bad, beat him 7-2. Then he had Camden Williams, a guy he had lost to a year prior at the Super Regional, beat him 12-6. And he honestly he gassed him out, right? And that was the bugaboo for the Williams brothers, the twins, was, are they going to be able to last? And he outgutted Cam Williams in that. And in the finals against Mason Leapart, that was probably the most wide open Vinny we've seen since, I would say, his freshman year in the state finals when he beat Jacob Van D. So if Vinny wrestles like that, there's nobody, I think, in the nation that can beat him when he wrestles like that. And clearly we saw that, because Mason Leapart is a pretty darn good wrestler, and he beat him 12-3, right? He's a tough wrestler, and Vinny's just, you can see the separation when that happens.
No doubt about it. And let's see if we can grab Vinny to have him join us on the show. And I thought, Haupt had a great tournament as well for Cannon McMillan. Troy Homan, probably a little bit disappointing finish. I'm sure he wanted to try to get into that finals and knock off Mason Leapart, but still overall a great season for Troy Homan.
And he was right in that match with Mason Leapart as well. So I know he's probably disappointed in the finish after finishing 4th, but he was right there in the mix.
Vinny Kilkeary kind enough to join us on the show. Vinny, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, Vinny, first and foremost, I got to tell you, you've been one of those guys that I've just absolutely loved watching this season. The way your style and open up your offense. You just look like you're having fun out there. Talk a little bit about your state tournament run. You just were impressive, dominant fashion throughout. Were you having fun on the mat?
Yeah, I feel like that was one of the biggest things this year for me, was just changed it up completely. I had no pressure this year to do something just to win. I didn't need to win. I just really wanted to. And I think that's what drove me to have so much fun and just enjoy myself on the mat and not worry about winning, but scoring points in a fun fashion. And I think that's how I went through the weekend.
And Jeff made a great point about, you really looked like you did your freshman year, right? Out there having fun, being able to push the pace with guys. What did you learn from last year's experience where you had that semifinal loss and had to come back for 3rd? What did you take away from that to what you carried into this year?
Yeah, I mean, don't take anything for granted. And I mean, it's a long time till next year, so you don't want that feeling all that year. And I mean, obviously it drove me to do what I did this year, but you don't want that to happen to you. You want to just keep going forward and not take that step back ever.
Yeah, and obviously I'm sure the PIAA tournament as well, maybe not the finish you wanted to have. Did that kind of set the pace for you for the second half of the year?
Yeah, I feel like I wrestled tight there. Like I was almost had that pressure again where, oh man, I have to win this. But I didn't I kind of changed that mindset, and I think that set me up good for the postseason.
So I got to ask about the celebration, Vinny. How pumped were you to do that? To throw? I was Coach Snyder, wasn't it, who you threw down?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and Coach Mark Mears was able to get the fall. That was pretty epic. What tell us about that?
yeah. So we this year, I mean, we're standing in the middle of practice one day, and Pletcher stands up and says, "This is gonna be my celebration," out of nowhere. And I'm like, man, I gotta have a celebration. I'm like, oh, coach, I'll lat drop you. So we're standing there in the hotel right before we leave, and I'm like, coach, and they're all like, oh, so many lat drops have happened. I said, yeah, I know. I mean, I gotta be original and I gotta do my way. So I was like, hey, I'll headlock you. I mean, why not? I did it, so I do it a lot. So I was actually a little nervous that if he would have slipped or not jumped, that I would have been there on the mat, squished a little. But he said he got up and saw stars, but we were all good.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Snyder is no he's not probably got about close to 150 pounds on you. He's a big boy, so
Yeah.
I'm glad he didn't squish you, or we may not be able to have this conversation with you, Vinny. We've seen you do a lot of work in the off season, spring, summer, and you've been out to Fargo. You were an All-American there last year. What is it now that you're committed to Ohio State? What is on the docket for you? Are you trying to make a world team? Are you going to try to just, coast into your senior season, or what's the plan for you?
Yeah, I'm going at it full sprint. I'm gonna try out for the world team, um, possibly cadet and junior. I'm still a U15 or UWW cadet, so I'm gonna try there, and then maybe juniors even try there. Why not try to get on a team with all of us Ohio State commits? But my main goal is to make that U15 team, or not UWW cadet team, and then from there, if I make that team, that pretty much shuts down my summer for anything else other than Super 32. But if that doesn't go as planned, I'll do Fargo as normal. I'm not going to slow down at all. I'm just going to pretty much live in the RTC at Ohio, and then just travel from there and home and just wrestle until I get my goals.
All right. And speaking of goals, your teammate Jack Pletcher, you got to talk about his weekend, because he had a phenomenal weekend. I don't know if a lot of people expected him to finish third in the state, considering he finished fourth in the region. And I mean, that's from you. I mean, you've been there before, right? I'm sure this year was special, but for Jack, he had never been to the state tournament before, and now here he is finishing third. Can you just talk a little bit about how that was emotionally, and as a teammate, as a friend of Jack, to see him come through and finish in third?
Yeah, people don't get how hard Jack actually worked throughout the year. I mean, there was nights I'd text Jack at like 8 o'clock, and I'd be like, hey man, you want to get an extra workout? And he was the first person to text me back. And I've never seen someone want that medal as bad as he did. And I think he just put so much together this weekend that I couldn't, if anyone deserved it, it was him. And the way he lost that tight one in that first match, I mean, and came back, he was driven after that. He's been driven all year, and I think he's been making those steps all year, but he finally put an awesome tournament together and just finally did it, which I couldn't have been happier with him. And I think I compare his dump to a DeSanto dump. My armpit is destroyed from him.
Right.
It's terrible, but I'm just so happy, and I think he got a great goal down, and that was to get a state medal, let alone to get third after losing that first match. It's such a battle back, but it couldn't have happened to a better person.
And Vinny, Jeff alluded to you're going to Ohio State, and you talked about it as well. We just talked to Rocco Welsh. You guys are both going to Ohio State. Is it awesome to have another WPIAL guy going, and just talk about all the commits that are going to Ohio State and what drove you to make that commitment?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I saw that all the commits went 12-0 in their state tournament. So we all were champs, which is absolutely incredible. I mean, all the Ohio guys, Jesse, the PA guys, the prep guys. I mean, who doesn't want to be around that, you know? And just to have like that, it's almost like me and Rocco are so close already through Young Guns and everything. But now me, Feldman, Bazakis, all those guys are starting to get closer and closer. I mean, we talk every day. It's awesome to have that type of brotherhood already with me and Rocco. I mean, knowing that I'm going to live with him for 4 more years, and that's awesome. But just to get to know the guys and know that's who's going to push you, or the number 1, 2, and 3 kids pound for pound in the nation. It's just awesome.
Well, Vinny, congratulations on winning your second state gold medal, I should say, third medal overall. And best of luck as you go through your summer months and we get ready for your senior season.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Vinny.
Thanks, Vinny. Vinny Kilcarry kind enough to join us on the show. And Jeff will now go ahead and jump ahead to 160 pounds, where Jared Kessler of Connellsville, he was a man on a mission. Jeff had a big win over Matt Colagesi in the quarterfinals and getting the finals championship over Ryan Garvik 7-5 to win his first state title. A guy who's just kind of like, Rocco, knocking on the doors. He wasn't a second place finisher, but a couple of fourth place finishes, and Kessler gets it done. Also within the WPIAL, though, they get 2 other medals. Sean Taylor of West Allegheny finishes in 4th place, and Enzo Morlacchi of Kiski had an impressive run, 3 wins to get to the semifinals, and he ends up in 6th place. So 3 medals for the WPIAL here.
Yeah, and I wasn't surprised at all that Enzo was able to punch through to the semifinals. I thought he had a really good draw there, and I kind of expected him to be there, to be honest with you. And when you look at Jared's run, it wasn't easy by any stretch. He had to beat Matt Colagesi from Council Rock South in that quarterfinal match. That was a huge time matchup. Those guys had been 1 and 2 in the state for, I would say, the better part of the season. And, Jared controlled the match like he had been all season, just not allowing guys to get to their offense, really just pummeling them on his feet. He's got to be ungodly strong from his feet, because he makes it look like nothing. I told him afterwards, I was like, man, despite the fact you beat a Central Dolphin guy in the finals, I'm really proud of you. And I feel like I've seen Jared grow up, and he was a freshman at the Surge, and just really I was a fan from that day on. And the way he wrestled, and without, much like Vinny Kilcarry, just having fun, going in and being very physical with guys. That's how he was. And you'd mentioned it. It's not like he was second twice. He was 4th twice, which I would say stings a little. You're behind a lot of tough guys. He was a couple seconds away from going to the finals, beating Rocco Welsh, and he ended up losing that match and coming back for 4th. And I think there was a lot of questions. Hey, can he actually punch through? Can he actually get to the top of the podium? Because we hadn't seen him do it in a major tournament. He hadn't won a Powerade title yet. So you looked at what he was able to do here in Hershey. I was very impressed with him, but I was not surprised, because I totally expected him to come out and continue wrestling like he did all season. And man, Pitt, we're going to talk a lot about it, but Pitt's got a hell of a recruiting class. I know Ohio State's got a good one too, but man, Pitt with the guys they have coming in, Jared Kessler, he's one of my favorite guys. I think he's going to transition very well into the college ranks. So I'm excited to see him in the gold and blue.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, Pitt, just the upper weights alone, right? Between Kessler, Stout, and Pitzer, they're going to be set for the next 5 years with those guys coming in. So it's going to be exciting to watch them. And the one guy who doesn't get a medal, Chase Kranitz, we thought he had such a great tournament in the WPIAL. He gets injured. He got injured in that first-round matchup against Chase Barlow, had injury default, tried to give it a go in that second-round matchup. Obviously, just wasn't the same Chase Kranitz we had been seeing the last couple of weeks. I think if he doesn't get hurt, he's also on the award stand. So the WPIAL very strong here at 160, like we had talked about the whole season, right? We talked about how strong 52 and 60 were, and it shows here in this weight class. Sean Taylor had one heck of a tournament. His losses 4-3 to Garvik and 1-0 to Colagesi. So he was right there with him.
And let's not forget, Sean Taylor is only a sophomore. I think that's easily overlooked sometimes, that Sean is only a sophomore. Last year did not have a ton of matches. This year really had a breakout performance, breakout season, had some major wins here in his sophomore campaign. But he was right there as well. And I agree with you what you said about Chance. If Chance was not injured, I think he medals. I would almost guarantee he medals if he's not injured. Not taking anything away from 7th and 8th place, but I think he's better than Jack Leto or Ryan Fairchild. Now, Nazareth, they had, it's like the Space Jam movie. They must have drank some magic water or something on day 2 because they went on an absolute tear and a roll, and we're picking up wins left and right. But I still think Chase healthy would have been on the top 8 here. Sean Taylor, not surprised that he was there. He beats Merlachi in the Conci semis, loses the College Ezzy 1-0. And he was in that match with Ryan Garvik. I wasn't expecting Garvik to make it out. I honestly thought it was going to be a Barlow or Sean Taylor that was going to come through. And props to Ryan Garvik. He's a kid I've known since he was pretty young, being from the Central Dolphin program, and really impressed with him. And to be honest with you, I thought Kessler was going to kind of bull him a little bit. And shout out to Ryan Garvik for keeping it close, because he was. I'm not saying he was in the match, but he certainly didn't get dominated like he probably could have.
Absolutely. I know we're a minute early, Jeff, but let's see if we can grab Jared Kessler to chat with him about his gold medal performance. And excited to chat with Jared about how his season went. Obviously a great season for him to get the gold medal. And joining us now is Jared Kessler. Jared, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Well, Jared, love the sign in the background, pit bound. We'll talk about that in a minute as far as, you head in the pit and, the excitement that's coming up for you. But first and foremost, talk about your state tournament run. You've had a couple of 4th place finishes, probably coming up a little bit short of where you wanted to be. And this year, we talked about the last couple of weeks on the show. You just seemed like a man on a mission, that you knew what you wanted, and you just seemed dominant and were getting it done on the mat.
No, yeah. I mean, this year I was just really focused on really just trying to get my number one goal is to get to the top of the podium and just keeping everything the same. I mean, warm up the same and just the same mentality on the mat. So,
what did you take away from those 2 years in a row where you finished 4th and really poured it into this off season to get where you wanted to be this year?
I really just use it as like motivation, like every day, just like to finally just get past the semis and really just get the goal. So.
Talk a little about the depth within the WPIAL that you see. I mean, obviously you saw it the last couple of years, right? I mean, last year you finished 4th in the WPIAL, but the top 2 guys from the WPIAL. But even this year, 3 guys get on the award stand. Just talk about, what it's like wrestling in the WPIAL and seeing these guys week after week.
No, it's really awesome. I mean, the WPIAL is definitely loaded. I mean, like even Rocco Welsh, for example, he's top in the nation. He just won his first state title, and let alone like got his first WPIAL title too. So I mean, it's just awesome to see like all the competition and know that you come from the hardest part of the state. So,
Jared, looking at your season this year, you have not lost in 2022. Your losses this year were at Powerade, and you lost to Enzo Merlaki in that opening season or opening weekend. Did that first early loss or those early losses kind of kick it into gear a little bit more for you? Because I know you were focused and trying to get healthy, but it seems like after those first initial losses, you just went on an absolute tear and really just never looked back.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, even especially that first, like you said, that first tournament where I lost Enzo. I mean, there was so much going on in my mind, and I was like, I knew I was gonna be one of the better guys in the bracket, and like I kind of just wanted to have like like an undefeated record, just have like the perfect senior like season or whatever. So then after that happened, I mean, it was just all like the kind of like pressure like kind of just got relieved. So and then I just started letting it fly a lot more.
What was the finals like for you? Because I mean, it was your first time in the state finals. A lot of people will say, "Man, there's nothing quite like it," and the nerves that you feel before that are like nothing you've ever felt before, even if you were in the finals of 100 tournaments before that. What was that experience like for you?
No, I mean, it was really weird. I mean, at first I wasn't really nervous that much, and then as soon as I finally got out there and like I was just waiting for the other matches to get done, I started really just starting to like, man, this is it. And then like, especially there at the end when we were in that big scramble, I was like, oh, this is crazy. And then I just had to really like focus and stay to it.
And Jared, we talked about Pitt bound. Talk about what it was like coming to that decision. What made you decide Pitt was the place for you?
I just really liked all the coaches and all the guys there. I mean, I just felt like a really good connection and how much I could see that they wanted me more than any other college reached out to me. So,
Have you decided what weight you're going to be looking at in college?
not really. I mean, I think I'm probably gonna go like 57 or 65, wherever they want me, really.
Okay. Planning on probably a red shirt though your first year?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, awesome. Well, hey, congratulations on winning a state gold. It's been a lot of fun watching you these 4 years at Connellsville, and excited to watch you at Pitt. I actually call the matches for Pitt for the ACC network, so you'll be hearing more from me. But definitely excited to watch you here at Pitt these next 4 years.
Awesome. I thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jared.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you.
Jared Kessler, kind enough to join us, and now we'll go up to 215 pounds, Jeff.
You almost
Another
said 189 because you're thinking of Finnerty, and he's a 189 pounder.
Exactly it, exactly. And I found it funny because I shouldn't say funny, but I found it ironic, I guess, that Finnerty goes up to 215 to get away from Stout, and he's the one that comes in with a state gold, and Stout does not. But the weight class of 215 for WPIAL, absolutely loaded. We talked about how deep it was last week, and they showed it here. All four guys, not only did they finish on the award stand, all four guys finished in the top 6 in the weight class. Brian Finnerty 1, Cole Waitman 2, Belle Vernon, Liam Volklaus of Seneca Valley 5th, Corey Borio of Latrobe in 6th place. And Finnerty and Waitman, we've seen these 1-0 super close matches. They opened it up, and it was a lot of fun to see that finals match.
So I'll start with Liam Volklaus. I was super impressed with him. He was able to now remember, this is his first state tournament. He comes in short in season with an injury. He comes out and gets a pin in his first match and then knocks off the Northeast Regional champion Chase Levy from Nazareth, which is no easy task. He beats him 6-5. Then he beats John Pardo from Kennett, who also is had a great sophomore year. He beats him to get into the semifinals. Then he gets a chance to wrestle for a second time Brian Finnerty from Thomas Jefferson, a guy he's familiar with, and comes up on a short end there. But he's able to bounce back after a fall to Carl DiGiorgio. He gets a win over Corey Borio from Latrobe, a guy he had lost to on a number of occasions. So Liam just had a phenomenal weekend for his first time at the state tournament. I was really impressed with him. But you mentioned it, man. Brian Finnerty, Cole Waitman. First of all, I didn't think Cole Waitman was going to be able to walk out to the finals. I mean, he was hobbling around on one leg really since the quarterfinals. After he beat Carl DiGiorgio, he beat him 8-7. DiGiorgio is a stud. I mean, he's a really good wrestler, now a 2-time state medalist. And Waitman, even on basically one leg, was able to beat him. But the match that really turned it, the tide for me was watching him against Nick Pavlechko from State College, the number 1 ranked guy in the state. Just a phenomenal wrestler. And Waitman was able to, I don't know how he was able to do it, to be honest with you. I don't know what type of, different level he had to go to gut it out for a 12-10 victory. He could barely walk off the mat. I mean, there was people that said, man, Cole Waitman may like medical forfeit in the finals. He may not be able to wrestle. So the fact that he was able to get out there and compete, 1, was astonishing, but 2, he was right there. I mean, Brian Finnerty and Cole Waitman, 3 weeks in a row. Let's make it 4. I mean, my gosh, that was a lot of fun. Those two put on a battle, but I know Cole probably wants to get a little bit healthy first.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, Waitman, that 12-10 score, not really indicative, I think, of the match, because Waitman, I would say, dominated that match for 5 minutes. There was that last minute he couldn't wrestle really because he was on one leg, and it was just, how can I hold on for one more minute to get to the state finals, and can I make this happen? And that's what he did, right? So he makes it happen to win 12-10, and I'm with you, Jeff. I think I even mentioned it on Saturday morning. Is he going to be able to come back tonight? Like, is he going to be able to wrestle in the state finals? And obviously there was no stopping him. He was going to get out on the mats. And if not for a locked hands penalty, that match goes to overtime. And who knows what happens in overtime between him and Finnerty. But the way they were going back and forth, I mean, my goodness, they're in the finals and you're thinking, oh, another 1-0 match. Here we go. And it was a back and forth match. It was really a fun one to watch.
I mean, it was entertaining. It was kind of gut wrenching a little bit, I'm sure, for parents and fans of either wrestler. But you know, at the end of the day, Brian Finnerty, he found a way. He found a way. And if you were going to tell me 3-4 months ago Brian Finnerty was going to be a state champion, I would have said you're out of your mind, because he was wrestling 189, and Sonny Sasso, maxed out, obviously, are two guys that are highly touted. But then, he tests those waters. He goes up to 215 for the Allegheny County tournament, beats some guys, and now you're thinking, okay, maybe he has a chance to place at states. I didn't really think he was going to win the state tournament at 215 pounds. I thought he had a better chance of winning a WPIAL title and getting on the podium. But the progression he's made in the last 3 weeks has just been really astonishing. As a wrestler, Greg, and wrestling up a weight, giving up weight, wrestling's hard enough as it is, but then you wrestle guys that are bigger than you. I mean, I hated when I got bumped up, because I'm thinking I'm going to lose to a guy that I'm better than, but it's just the weight difference. And he's risen to the occasion on several occasions now, and it's really impressive to see what he's done as an undersized 215 pounder. I'm excited to see what he does at the next level, because I think, depending on where he wants to go weight wise, I'm assuming 197, but he's going to have a good career, I think, at the next level.
And look at those guys he beat too. Liam Volklaus, Cole Waitman. Those are big boys. Not talking like they're ripped, like super strong, like guys I would never want to go and get into a tie-up with. And Finnerty is getting it done. Obviously, Finnerty's strong in his own right, but boy, those guys, I mean, they have muscles for days, right? It is just incredible the way Finnerty is able to handle the way that he controlled the matches to win and did what he does.
Yeah, I mean, again, just the weight difference and the way in which he wrestled was so impressive, and I'm excited to talk to him to recap his state finals run there.
Yeah, and there he is, Brian Finnerty, kind enough to join us. Brian, thanks for joining us. Just 2 weeks ago, you were with us and back with us again. So first off, congratulations on your state title.
Thank you.
Well, I know 2 weeks ago we talked about, after you got your section gold, right, about what you had coming up and how deep the WPIAL was, especially in that weight class. I mean, three of the top 6 wrestlers are in your section, right, between yourself, Waitman, and Borio. But just talk about your state tournament. You seemed like you were focused and you had everything going the way you wanted it to go.
Yeah, started off, first matches, I was so nervous. That was my first time ever competing in the Giant Center as a wrestler. I've only watched it from the stands. So the first 2 matches, I'm not going to lie, I was really nervous. And then when I got to the semis against Von Claus, I was like, I finally calmed myself down and I was able to wrestle my match. Same with the finals. I was just able to be calm then.
Yeah, talk a little bit about your finals match, because it felt like to me like it was kind of out of character for how you guys had wrestled the last 2, right? They were super close, 1-0 match. And this one, you guys went back and forth, trading some different moves and takedowns. Just talk about what happened in that match with Cole Waitman.
Yeah, my pretty much goal was try to open up my offense as much as I could and put everything out on the mat. I think that was his plan too, and I think we put everything out on the mat that we had to possibly offer. He did, I did, and which led to some crazy scrambles, some crazy takedowns, reversals, and some calls.
Brian, if I were to say to you 3-4 months ago you were going to be a state champion, would you have thought, okay, yeah, at 189 or maybe possibly 215? To me, it just seems it's still strange to comprehend. Like, Brian Finner, you're a state champion, you're at 215. What was that like?
Yeah, it was very strange. It was very surreal, because I'm still all the interviews I've gotten, they're like, how's it feel? I'm like, it just doesn't feel like normal. It's just weird.
It's almost, yeah, like you said, surreal, and it hasn't quite sunk in yet. I know you talked to your coaches afterwards. You talked to Jim Akerley afterwards. How much have those coaches, both your school and your club coaches, been an impact on you and kind of developing you? Because you've come a long way in 4 years. How imperative were they to that progress?
They were a huge part of my process, like training and stuff. I mean, with Vladik, I think as he would say, I've grown over the years to be a way better person than what I used to be as a freshman. And Akerley, he's been my coach ever since I was little. I've been jumping clubs, but I always came back to him, and he's really helped me shape up my wrestling game to the next level.
You mentioned it. You were a little bit nervous in those first couple matches, and to be honest with you, you had a tough road to the finals. You had a really tough Lucas Doyle from Council Rock South, a guy who's dangerous. He can pin about just anybody. That was a tight match, and then Anson Wagner from Mifflin County, another guy who kept it close with just about everybody he wrestled. That was a close match. What was going through your mind in those first two matches? And I know you alluded to it, but did it get easier as it went on after those opening wins over Doyle and Wagner?
So with Doyle, like I said, I was so nervous going into that match just because it was my first time ever wrestling. And I don't think I wrestled fully to my full ability against him to where I would be at the next level as what I wanted to be. But as soon as I got to Doyle, I was a little bit less nervous, and I got to my shot, and I actually got to get my takedown in, and I was actually way more comfortable throughout that whole match.
And was it, you mentioned the nerves went away in your semis. Was part of that because you were wrestling WPIAL guys? Like, in a way, a lot of people don't like to wrestle the same guy more than once. And obviously, you wrestled Volklaus multiple times, Finnerty Waitman multiple times. Did it help that you had those guys? Was it more of a comfort thing? Like, okay, I've wrestled these guys. I don't need to be nervous.
I don't know if it was like a sense of relief after I was like, yeah, I'm placing now. There's really nothing I can lose now. But I think it was more so that the fact in my head, I just pretty much sized it down to where I'm just wrestling in the WPIAL tournament, and it's just there's only a little bit more fans.
That's right, no doubt about it. Well, congratulations on winning a state title, Brian, and best of luck, obviously, as you continue into your college career.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Brian Finnerty kind enough to join us, and Jeff will slide over now to AA, where only two AA state champions this year, but two guys who have been dominant throughout the entire season. Really, if you're looking for outstanding wrestlers, obviously Dayton Pitzer was second to none, but in winning the outstanding wrestler award. But Rune Lawrence definitely had an argument for it. 3 falls and 1 decision to get the gold medal. He had his only decision came in the quarterfinals, a 7-0 victory. But outside of that, 3 total falls, and he just looked so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he was so impressive against Nolan Lear, too. I mean, we talked about it before the state tournament that was a 1 versus 2 at one time. Nolan Lear jumped down to number 3 after losing to Garrett Garcia. But Rune, I mean, that was the furthest thing from a decision, from a 7-0 decision it was, because Rune just controlled that match from start to finish. And he controlled every match he was in, to be honest. I mean, he just, it was pure domination. And that was, I think he's a little banged up. I think he probably, when we talked to him, he'd probably say he wasn't completely satisfied with his performance. And that just goes to show you how dominant he is and how his mindset is just about going out and just mauling people. And he did that, right? He was able to do that, and that's the reason why he was probably a close runner-up to the OW after Dayton Pitzer, who we know just absolutely, destroyed the field. Yeah, Rune had a great tournament. To follow up on that after a freshman state title, I think a lot of wrestlers will tell you that after winning as a freshman, it gets harder every single year. And I think that sophomore year is when a lot of guys, like we saw Vinny Kilcarry, he could win another state championship and his only loss would be as a sophomore year. I think that sophomore year is so tough for a lot of these big guys, and Rune to get that win, I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah, you bring up a great point about that. Freshman year, sometimes you can, because you're so talented, but sometimes you can catch people by surprise, right? People that think, oh, they're a freshman, they're going to come in, they're going to struggle, they're going to be nervous, they're not going to be able to perform like they do or like they have throughout their junior years, the junior high years. But you catch through by surprise, you get that state title. And you're right, sophomore year, maybe you let the foot off the gas a little bit. Now you've got it. You got some pressure on you. Maybe you're a little more nervous. Guys are gunning for you. So, then from there, whatever happens as sophomore campaign, that's when you look to improve your junior year. And then senior year, you try to dominate. And, I think with Rune, like you mentioned, the way he dominated now, you just got to wonder, like, what's these next 2 years going to look like for him?
Right.
Because, the way he dominated on the mats, I mean, I don't know that anyone in AA, I mean, we'll see who comes up in the mix, and, different wrestlers will definitely still obviously, tangle with him. But, I mean, geez, he dominated what was a good weight. I mean, Jake Jones is a very good wrestler. Nolan Lear is a very good wrestler, and he dominated those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see what the next 2 years looks like, because as long as he's healthy, I don't see anybody stopping him. Obviously, there's always younger guys that are going to come up through. And going back to that sophomore slump, I think back to Cody Weirchach from Charleroi, and then he went to Canamac. I mean, he was dominant in his career, and he ended up losing his sophomore year. Won a state title as a freshman, junior, and senior. And he was up at a bigger weight, almost, I wouldn't say identical to Rune, but very similar. So what Rune accomplished this weekend was very impressive, and I agree with you, Greg. I pity the fool, as Mr. as Mr. T would say. I really do. Anybody that's in his weight class in the next couple of years, because it's gonna be a lot of pain. That's what my prediction is: a lot of pain.
Well, let's see if we can get Rune on the call and chat with him a bit about his performance and see how he's doing health-wise as well. Like you mentioned, Jeff, had heard he was dealing with a little bit. I think they mentioned a knee injury that he was dealing with. So we'll see how he's doing health-wise, if that was the case. Because if you're seeing a dominant performance and he was not even at 100%, boy, I wouldn't even want to know what he'd look like at 100%, because of how impressive he is. We'll see if we can grab him on the call and have him join us to talk about his state title at 172. Two WPIAL guys winning 172 pounds. I think we kind of expected that too, Jeff. With Rocco Welsh and Rune Lawrence, those guys had to wrestle twice. So 3 losses for Rune on the season, but 2 of those coming to Rocco Welsh.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we kind of expected both of those to happen, but to actually see it come to fruition in quite dominating fashion. And I remember these guys wrestled a handful of times this year too, which is the cool part, is we got to see these two guys that were just so dominant go at each other head to head. So, we don't have to kind of speculate, man, what would happen if Rune and Rocco met. We got to see it on a few occasions, so that's really cool.
I'll shoot him a text right now for us, Jeff. Appreciate all the WPIAL wrestlers joining us throughout the show. It's a lot of fun, I think, to have these guys join us, Jeff, talk about their gold medals, and something we look forward to at the end of each year.
Oh, I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work on our part to kind of organize and get it all together, but it's worth it, because we get to hear from the best of the best, and just a few days removed from winning a state title, which is pretty unique and pretty special.
You mind reaching out to his Skype again, Jeff?
Yeah.
See if he can. He said he didn't get anything, but we'll see if we can line that up. So Rune Lawrence of Fraser, he's a sophomore too, so I'm gonna see if I can make sure we have the right live ID, Jeff.
Yeah, I just sent you a link. If you want to send that to him, make sure that link is. You can always just click on that link, and that'll bring him right onto the call. I know we had him on last year, because I know he won it last year. So.
All right, perfect. Well, I just sent it over to him, so we're excited to chat with him. And how about the Frazier team as well this season, Jeff? They had a great run, and really, I think I was seeing a lot of improvement. I think probably a lot of guys coming out because of, first Thane and now Rune.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think you have success that breeds that other guys that are noticing it. They come out, they see it. So clearly, I think it's been a trend, and I think they said this is the fifth straight year in a row that a Fraser wrestler was in the state finals. I think it was the fifth, yeah, because Thane won 3, and that for a program that just started and is so much in its infancy, like to see it get that much publicity and attention is pretty incredible.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you look also, there was another WPIAL wrestler who made it to 172 pounds, Mason Dimert of Quaker Valley. He goes 2 and out, but does obviously get to the state tournament as a qualifier for Quaker Valley. I thought Quaker Valley, we'll talk about them a little later on in the show, but they had a really good tournament, obviously with 3 state medalists coming out for them.
Yeah, I was really impressed with them. I thought they got a couple wins that probably not a lot of people expected them to. So I would say Quaker Valley definitely had a good tournament. Probably they would like to have a couple more guys on the podium, no doubt. But overall, I think Quaker Valley had a really good performance, when you look at their overall results from in Hershey.
I don't know if you want to try him again, Jeff. I sent him the link, so I'm waiting for a response. There he is, Rune Lawrence. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, Rune, talk a little bit about your state performance. Obviously, you had one heck of a run, 3 falls, and then a big 7-0 decision in the quarterfinals over Nolan Lear, who going into it was ranked as the second ranked wrestler. So just talk a little bit overall about your performance in the tournament.
I
think your camera flipped around, Rune.
Yeah, I see that. I don't know how to get it back.
there we go.
I mean, yeah, it was a pretty good tournament. There were some things I could have done better, obviously. I mean, not everything goes as planned. Like, I think I could have beat Lear maybe a little more. But at the same time, I mean, I still beat him, so it's getting the job done. That's really all that matters once you get to that level. And then, I had a couple of falls I picked up. I mean, my first one, I think it was in the first period, so it was an all right match. And then from there, it all kind of slowed down a little bit. Progressively took longer to get to them. But all in all, I think it was all right.
When you step out on the mat each time, Rune, are you thinking, hey, I'm coming away with a fall? Is that your mindset going into each match?
Yeah.
And then obviously you mentioned that Lear match, 7-0 decision. Did you come away, saying like, hey, I need to do some things better as you get into the semifinals and into the finals to make sure I put these matches away?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of thought that would be my toughest opponent that weekend, honestly. The rest of them before did pretty decent, but I kind of figured it would be a little bit harder to pin him than kind of anyone else there.
And Rune, when you look at just your career thus far, we were talking about it before you came on about how tough it is to come back as a sophomore to win it. I can remember Cody Weirchach, who was at Charleroi and then went to Canon-Mac. He lost his sophomore year. Look at Vinny Kilkeary. He won it as a freshman, lost as a sophomore, won it as a junior. Did you feel extra pressure or anything this sophomore year after winning as a freshman? What makes it so difficult for sophomores to repeat as state champs?
No, actually, I didn't feel as much pressure going into this year. I mean, I still had a little bit on me because a returning state champ, people are going to want to beat me because like once you beat someone at that level in college, you see that, and that kind of puts you on the map. But no, I was pretty relaxed the whole way through. I kind of knew I was like, just go out there and wrestle how I know, and I'll be all right.
How special was it having Thane there as well? That had to have been pretty cool to have your older brother there, a guy who really paved the way for you. And just talk about that relationship and the brotherhood that you have between him.
Oh yeah, it's pretty sweet. I mean, me and Thane, we basically did everything together because I was the only person around a lot of times, just messing around on the farm. But yeah, no, it's always cool because I was always there watching him, and I was like, man, one day I'm gonna be out here doing this, and hopefully he's watching me from the stands and getting it from his perspective.
Now, how quick can you pin Thane? Is it like 30 seconds, or do you let him get into the second period?
I don't know, man. His shoulder's kind of healed up now, so it might be a little longer.
Speaking of banged up, I know we talked after the state finals, and you said, "Hey, I just want to kind of give my body some time to rest." How difficult was it for you this season to really work through some of those injuries, and obviously as a sophomore, not wanting to further injure yourself? How difficult was it for you to kind of stay healthy and work through that pain?
It wasn't that bad. I mean, there was some times where it sucked, but I mean, I have a really good trainer, coach, or my trainer's Ashley, and that she helped me out a lot, doing physical therapy and stuff at school, getting me like what I need and that. So it really wasn't that bad, but there were some times it was bothering me pretty bad.
Rune, obviously you're going to be heading into your junior year. You're going to start looking at some colleges. I'm sure every college wants to have you join their program. Have you started looking, considering, have you started to narrow down some choices at all and start to consider that?
No, not really. I've been kind of just having fun with it up to this point because I know like once they start coming, then it gets a lot more serious. So I guess I'm enjoying it while I can.
Well, you mentioned healing up is probably one thing you want to do this off season. What else do you have planned for the off season before you get into your junior campaign?
I'm gonna get fatter.
I like that answer. I like that. Get fatter. What you want to take over for Dayton Pitzer, don't you? You want to get up to 215 and be as dominant as he was.
Yeah, that way in college it's easier, I guess. That way if I have to cut down a little bit rather than have to put on. But no, I mean a lot of it's just gonna be kind of lifting and then just gun practice. Same thing as usual.
Well, congratulations on winning a second state title, Rune, and obviously we're excited to watch you for your junior year.
All right, thank you.
Rune Lawrence kind enough to join us on the show, and Jeff, we'll now move into AAA 145 pounds, and we'll have a guest coming on. We'll delay just a couple of minutes, but it was a match we were excited to see. Hey, can we get this a fourth time? Ty Waters, Finn Sullivan. Ty Waters comes away winning the fourth one, so they're now 2-2 against each other this season. Waters wins the gold 7-4 over Finn Sullivan. Finn Sullivan had a great tournament going up to that point, 2 falls and a major. But Ty Waters getting it done. Big wins, not only after his first fall, beats Andrew Harmon, beats Jude Swisher, a guy who was right in the mix with both he and Finn. He beats him 12-5 as well. Great tournament for Ty Waters. And how about Lucas Capusta? Takes Jude Swisher to the second overtime in his first round matchup, and he ends up winning a pair of matches in the consolations before losing to Swisher a second time and finishing in 5th place. So Capusta's 2 losses to Jude Swisher, but he finishes in 5th place.
I thought the WPIAL had a great tournament. Obviously, we had 2 of our finalists, but when I saw Ty Waters beat Jude Swisher 12-5 and really separate himself from him, I said to somebody sitting next to me, I said, that does not bode well for Finn Sullivan. And Finn had looked really, really good. He pinned Riley Bauer, which I thought, okay, that he's here for business. Beats up Chance Babb from Boyertown, a guy who was a state medalist previously. But seeing Ty Waters do what he did to Jude Swisher, a guy who has a win over Finn Sullivan, I'm thinking, boy, like he may just get him this time. And honestly, I would love to see that match 10 more times. I really do. I'm kind of pissed that Finn's graduating. I hope Ty is going to West Virginia and Finn's going to NC State. I hope we can get an NC State West Virginia match going, because I'd love to see those guys keep going at it. And to be honest with you, I bet both those wrestlers want to continue wrestling because it makes them better. That match was so entertaining. Ty Waters, I don't know how he did it, but he got himself in a position where he was in that cradle. And Finn, he was stuck. He was just absolutely stuck. Not stuck as in he was pinned. He was just he couldn't do anything.
Right.
And he was able to eat up a lot of time there, and ultimately that was the difference in the match.
Well, let's see if we can get Ty Waters to join us. Incredible, really, for Ty Waters to win that gold medal is between that and the Swisher match, just definitely blown away by his performance. And Finn was hot too going into that finals, like I mentioned. Beating Chance Babb 14-4. I mean, Babb's a heck of a wrestler for Finn to be able to do that, as well as pin Riley Bauer, and then come away and have that back and forth match with Ty Waters. Lucas Capusta, we talked about as well, Jeff. Just a great showing, and losing those two to Jude. But really, outside of that, he was, had such a strong tournament. And joining us now is Ty Waters from West Allegheny. Ty, congratulations on your state title.
Thank you.
Well, talk about your state tournament. Just you were hot. You wrestled really well all tournament long, beating Andrew Harmon 7-3, Jude Swisher 12-5 before the match against Finn Solomon, which, boy, like Jeff and I just talked about, we could watch you and Finn wrestle 10 times. It was just such a great match. Talk about your state tournament and how you felt and what your thoughts were.
It was a lot of fun. I don't know. I just like going out on the mat and having fun and just trying my best.
Well, talk about what went right for you in that semifinal against Jude Swisher. You came away with a 12-5 win. What went right to win that match?
I think just being patient and getting to my attacks, and I don't know. I think he's a real technical wrestler, and I think I do good against them because I'm like real funky and getting like odd positions and just try to make him as uncomfortable as possible.
And then that match against Finn Solomon, talk about it, funky position. Talk about that cradle you got on Finn. How did that happen?
I'm not sure. I just went with the flow, and I don't know. I think me and him always get in weird positions. I love wrestling Finn so much.
Yeah, talk about your matches against one another. Just how talk about what it's like wrestling Finn, and what kind of situations you guys get into.
I don't even know. We always just like it'll be something weird, like I get on his leg or he gets in on mine, and then it just goes from there. And we always like it'll either be a real close match or it'll be like a big scoring match. It's never the same.
After the regional championship, were you kind of expecting that to take place again, that match with Finn Solomon? Were you kind of thinking, hey, there's a really, really good chance we're going to be here again on Saturday night in Hershey?
Yeah, because I don't know. I'd never wrestled Jude, but I knew I had to like go through him to get to Finn. So I just thought like I'm just gonna take it one match at a time and not look past anyone.
If you could define your style, what would it be? Like what would you call yourself? I know funky is one of the things that we say, but Ben Askren's already. I know you got the hair like Ben Askren, but that's been taken already. Funk's taken. How would you describe just your style?
I'm not sure, honestly. Just like different.
Let's call it unique. You got a unique style. Ty, I look at your career, and you were a stud coming out of junior high, right? I mean, a lot of people were talking about Ty Waters. You beat Mac Church your freshman year. You were down at 106, and then last year happened, right? And I think that's very easy for a wrestler to just, kind of pack it up and move on and say, hey, I gave it a good shot, and maybe I'll finish out my career, maybe a state placer. But you were able to bounce back in a big way. Talk about last year, one, how difficult it was for you to go through an injury like that and come back, but two, really develop yourself from a 106 pounder to now at 145, where you're just going out there and putting on a show.
Like I don't know, because like when I got hurt, I would always have like doubt and stuff, just like coming back and being like watching everyone else go out and like win states or like accomplish things like that I wanted, and it just like I think it just made me more hungry and just want it more and like put in more work.
And looking back at your freshman year, you were down at 106. You had that win over Mac Church, but you weren't able to get on the podium. And that was your last time in Hershey. How much of that came back to you when you walked inside the Giant Center this past weekend when you were there before at 106. What was that experience like for you?
It was just crazy because like I could tell I had a whole new attitude. Like when I was 106, I never really expected to like win it or like assumed I would ever do anything. So I think I just had a horrible attitude then. And this time I was like, I'm not really just good enough to hang with these good guys, but I can beat them too.
Well, Ty, congratulations on winning a state gold medal. It's been a lot of fun watching you this year, and obviously a lot of fun watching you and Finn go at it. And obviously we're excited to see what you come back with for your senior year.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me.
Let's go Mountaineers.
For sure.
Thanks to Ty Waters for joining us on the show. And now, Jeff, we'll jump ahead to 152 pounds. We're at 152 pounds. Dylan Evans of Chartiers Valley comes away with the gold medal. He looked strong throughout the entire tournament. He controlled the matches, controlled the pace, and ends up winning a tight one in the finals, 3-2 over Cayman Smith. WPIAL here, they get 3 medalists on the award stand. We alluded to it a little bit earlier in the show. Jack Pletcher, he unfortunately fed right into Dylan Evans, lost 4-2 in that first round, but then he comes back after winning his first match against Kelton Bruner. He ends up winning 5 matches to get for a third-place finish. Just incredible job from Jack Pletcher to finish third. Kellen Laffey on the other side, he ends up making it to the semifinals, but then he ends up dropping 3 straight decisions for 6th place. Probably a disappointing finish for Laffey, considering it was thought that he was number 1 in the state for a good part of the season. And another disappointing finish for Nico Taddy at West Allegheny. He was a guy who, also had aspirations of being on the award stand. He got upset in overtime in that opening match against Griffin Gonzalez, and then he drops a decision to Jake Daly, 0-2, and not able to medal. So overall, great job by Evans and Pletcher. A little bit more disappointing for Laffey and Taddy, but 3 medalists overall.
Yeah, and this bracket had a lot of ups and downs for the WPIAL, and to be honest with you, the bracket got busted when Griffin Gonzalez decided that he was just going to come into the Giant Center and take out 2 highly touted wrestlers. He beat Nico Taddy in sudden victory, as you mentioned, 2-0. That got my attention. I remember interviewing him right after that, and I kind of was thinking in my mind, like, well, this is a great time to interview him because he's got Condomini next. He's not going to win that, and he could potentially turn it around on the backside. Lo and behold, he beats Dagan Condomini 11-2 and just completely busts the bracket wide open. I'm like, holy crap. Like, I was actually watching another match. I was watching Jude Swisher, I believe, at the time, and somebody says Griffin beat Condomini, and I'm like, what? Like, I had to do like a triple take, and I had to really look at it. And I'm like, did he get hurt? Like, what happened? And that really opened up and I thought, looking at that, like, man, Laffey's in a great position now because I think he's the guy that comes out from that bottom half, and we get to see a WPIAL finals rematch. So, but then that disappointment came when Cayman Smith came out. Again, a guy who finished 2nd in the region last week, lost to Luke Sipes, a freshman, in the finals last week. Had a good season this year, but he's never really been in contention, and then all of a sudden he comes out, beats a returning state medalist, William Morrow, beats Gonzalez 8-3, and then just really outlasted Kellen Laffey to get into the finals. And to be honest with you, him and Dylan were very, very tight. That was a close match that could have went either way. Dylan Evans was definitely the talk of the tournament and how consistent he was, but you cannot overlook the fact that Jack Pletcher in a pigtail match beats Bruner and then loses to Dylan Evans and then comes all the way back to finish for 3rd place. We talked about with Vinny Kilcarry, just an amazing run for Jack Pletcher, guy who he waited to the last absolute tournament of his career to put it all together. But this was the best overall performance we've seen from Jack Pletcher in his 4-year career. And he just certainly picked a great time for it.
Let's see if we can get Dylan Evans on the show with us, but you mentioned it, Jeff. Jack Pletcher beats 3 region champs as well. Caden Dobbins, Luke Sipes, and Dagan Condomini. And the other guy he beat in the consolations, Griffin Gonzalez, the guy who was hot this tournament. He had an absolute fantastic run in that consolations to finish in 3rd. And by the way, PIAA, he was a 4th place finisher in the WPIAL.
He was a 4th place finisher, right? That's why I look at him. Like, Jack Pletcher was a 4th place finisher, finishes third in the state. That's why the WPIAL is so special. That's why you cannot get rid of that fourth qualifier.
Gonzalez, the guy who.
And
And
we
there
got
he is
Dylan.
now joining us. Now is Dylan Evans of Chartiers Valley. Dylan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, congratulations on winning a state gold medal. Talk a little bit about your tournament run. You know, you ended up getting kind of a bad draw in a way, right? Having Jack Pletcher coming out in that first round. Was it tough having a WPIAL foe right out of the gates?
It was definitely a little weird having Jack Pletcher first match, not only because he was a WPIAL kid, but also because he's really good. I mean, I wrestled him earlier in the season at King of the Mountain, and having him, you know, just wrestling him first match at States after we both just wrestled the WPIAL tournament a week before, it was a little nerve-wracking, but at the same time, I was just kind of pumped to wrestle kind of that first match.
It seemed like from there you controlled the action and controlled the pace throughout your 4 matches at the state tournament. But it seemed like, you know, your semifinals match against Luke Sipes, you know, he was called for stalling multiple times, right? Because he didn't seem to want to, you know, get inside with you. Same with Cayman Smith. I know both of you guys were hit with stalling, but it just seemed like they were trying to slow down your offense. Was it frustrating wrestling those guys?
Frustrating wouldn't be the right word. I wasn't really too fazed by it. It was just the fact that I had to push the pace. I knew I had a good gas tank, so if I kept going, eventually I was either going to get a takedown or I was going to get the guy tired enough to capitalize in certain moments.
Did you feel any nerves out there when you hit that state finals matchup?
Oh, totally. My heart was racing 1,000 miles an hour. I was super nervous, but you know, I was just more kind of grateful to wrestle and kind of get in the action.
When you look at your career thus far, Dylan, you know, you've been on the medal stand twice before. You were very close to knocking off some big names in the previous years, but this year just seemed different for you. What would you attribute that just jump in levels for you? And you know, I talked to you after the championship, and I said I feel like your season started back in Fargo, and you've just been killing it ever since. What do you attribute that change in momentum and that change in your performance from those previous 2 years?
One big thing would be mindset. I was definitely more kind of confident in my abilities. I've been spending so much time training, you know, going to clubs, doing extra practices, going to lifting. You know, there was a sense of kind of confidence going into every match when it came to Fargo, Super 32, States. I was more confident in my abilities. And of course, I was nervous before just about every match, but again, I was grateful to wrestle, and I was confident in my abilities that I could step on the mat and go 6 minutes hard.
After reaching the pinnacle, getting to the top of the podium in Hershey, you know, where do you go from here? Because I feel like those losses in Hershey previously motivated you to just reach a higher point, and you know that's why you wrestled 10 matches in a row in Fargo and won them. That's why you came back and placed at Super 32. Now that you've kind of hit that point, what is next for Dylan Evans, and how do you stay motivated?
I will be attempting to go to the World Team Trials in April in Las Vegas, but I'm also going to try to win another state title again next year. Not sure a weight. I don't know. I could be a 52 again. I could shoot all the way up and be a 189.
Right.
Well, Dylan, obviously you came back to a nice fanfare welcome at Chartiers Valley. Talk about what it was like to come back to that.
It was surprising. I knew something was going to happen, but to be honest, I was more expecting like my wrestling guys, like my buddies, my team, to see that group of people out there supporting me. I was just glad to kind of be there. I mean, I had so many people. I had people that held me through injury, that held me through sickness. A lot of my trainers, I had my coaches. I've had people that have supported me all my life. And to see such a big rally for accomplishing something I've always wanted to accomplish, it was heartfelt. I was just really grateful.
Absolutely. Was it also, I'm sure it was also heartfelt too, just having your dad in the corner, being able to jump in his arms and be able to share that moment with him?
Oh, for sure. It was, As I was walking up to do that hug, I kind of looked him in the eyes, and we both kind of had like we did it moment. I mean, my dad's been there literally since day one, and when we were working on the mat ever since I was little, trying to trying to perfect the single, trying to perfect the high crotch. Sometimes staying a lot later after practices where I would just drill with him, trying to figure everything out. So to achieve something I've wanted to achieve and then go into like jump into his arms, it was probably one of my more favorite moments.
Absolutely. Done something you'll remember forever. Congratulations, Dylan, on winning a state gold, and we're excited to see, how things go for you this summer, and obviously see what it's like here in your senior campaign.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Dylan.
Of course.
Bye.
Dylan Evans kind enough to join us on the show, and now Jeff will hop down to back into Double A, where we had the outstanding wrestler Dayton Pitzer just absolutely dominate on his way 4 falls all within the first period, and he came into this tournament with 96 falls in his career. So with those 4 falls, he ends with 100 career falls. Think about this. He only wrestled 3 years.
I know.
3 years, 100 career falls. To do it all in the first period, obviously there was no doubt about it. He was the outstanding wrestler, not only of Double A, the entire state tournament. Other guys at 215, Vitaly Daniels comes up 1 win short of becoming a state medalist as well for Bentworth. But the story here, Dayton Pitzer, I mean, my goodness, Pitt's getting one heck of a wrestler.
I mean, I don't think we can fully comprehend how good Dayton Pitzer has been in 3 years. I imagine if we saw him for 4 years straight. Now, looking at the guys he's beaten, it's incredible to think. He's only lost to 2 guys in his career. Scott Joel as a freshman, and he actually ended up avenging that loss and beating him later in the year. And Nick Feldman, he lost to him twice. That's it. And you look at what he's done, 130-3 with 100 falls. I mean, this isn't Rhode Island. This isn't, no offense to Rhode Island, and this isn't Virginia. No offense to Virginia, but I mean, this is Pennsylvania. It's incredible to me that somebody like Dayton can exist in Pennsylvania. He's just that good, and what really puts it into perspective is he's such a good kid. He's such a good person. I can't wait to see his brother come up through. He's gonna have huge shoes to fill, but he's already taller than Dayton, so he'll probably fill them just fine. What Dayton was able to do was just absolutely incredible. And I think everybody inside the Giant Center knew that, because when they saw him get that fall in the first period against Brad Morrison, it was like, man, this is the last time we're going to see somebody this special in a very long time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And think about this too, Jeff. We talked about this after Powerade. I don't see Dayton Pitzer going 6 minutes again. He never did. And in fact, there was only 1 match. He wrestled 45 matches this year. He only wrestled 1 that went 6 minutes. Actually went more than 6 minutes, right? Because he went to overtime in that Powerade final. But that was it.
Yep.
One match out of 45.
Yeah, I mean, again, just absolutely incredible what he was able to do, and I can't wait to see him at the next level. And here he is, Dayton Pitzer. How's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Looks like you just got done with a workout already. You're back into the lab.
Yep. We just finished practice.
Well, Dayton, congratulations on winning your 3rd state title. An outstanding wrestler award as well. Just talk about your state performance. I talked to your coach, Zach Snyder, before the state tournament even started on Wednesday, and he said, hey, Dayton's got 96 career falls. If he gets 4 falls, he's going to have 100. Were you going into this thinking like, hey, I'm going to get these 4 falls and I'm going to get 100 for my career?
Yeah, I definitely think that goal was like in the back of my mind, but at the end of the day, I still just had to go out and wrestle and not get out of position looking for the fall. So all my coaches told me just wrestle hard and just kind of do my thing, and the fall will come.
This entire season, you've been totally dominant, winning 45 matches, 44 of them by fall. When you look at your season as a whole, was it how you kind of expected it when you started the season?
I mean, yeah, I think I had high goals, and just and how hard I train. I mean, I kind of set a high standard for myself in wrestling. So I think I didn't know exactly how the season was going to go because you never know what could happen. But I definitely had high goals for myself.
Dayton, when you look at just your career overall, obviously a ton of success, but I think this year stuck out a little bit because you got to wrestle in the Powerade in the finals. You got a big win over TJ Stewart. That was one of the things I would talk to folks and they would say, well, yeah, who has Dayton wrestled outside of Pennsylvania? And I'm thinking, well, yeah, you wrestled Nick Feldman a couple of times. But how big was that win in Powerade for you? Because I feel like that just really cemented your name, not only in Pennsylvania, but in the nation as well.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely one of my goals. I mean, I wanted that really bad to win Powerade, and no matter who it was against, I wanted to get that job done. But no, that definitely felt good. And I haven't really wrestled too much I haven't really traveled to like big national tournaments as much as others, but that was definitely a good win, and I was excited for that.
Again, talking about the future and going to Pitt, you have such a high ceiling. You've got a huge frame, and I know you want to fill that out. How excited are you to get to Pitt and really just kind of get back to work, if you will? I mean, you're obviously already back at practice. It's Monday. You just won a state title two days ago. How excited are you to get to Pitt just to get the work started?
Yeah, no, I'm super blessed and grateful for what happened this season and how everything ended with my high school career, but I'm definitely not satisfied, and I'm still super hungry, and I don't think I've even been close to reaching my best. So I'm excited to keep chasing that goal and being as good as I can be, and I'm excited it's going to be at Pitt, and I'm just stoked to get there and get to work.
How instrumental were your support staff around you? You have your parents, you have your coaches, Coach Snyder, but also Coach Waller at All American, and how just important were all those pieces as you were trying to make history here, and just overall your career as well? How important were they?
It's so important. It's crazy. My support system with my family and my parents and my little brother and just everybody around me, all my coaches, workout partners, or people, chiropractors, doctors. I mean, there's so many people that I need to thank that the list is too long. But I'm grateful for every single one of them that's helped me.
Now, you said little brother, but Dayton, we were out to dinner the night before the state tournament, and I saw your brother, and he ain't little. What's the words of wisdom that you give to your younger brother, and you really set the stage up nice for him, but it may be a little daunting for him as well.
Yeah, no, he's gonna be good. He has a ton of potential, and I'm definitely excited to watch him grow and become the wrestler, whatever. I mean, he has his own path, and he doesn't. I don't think he has to do something just because I did it. So, whatever he decides to shoot for and try to accomplish, I'm excited to help him and watch him get there.
Well, Dayton, you're headed to Pitt, like you talked about just a second ago, and I'm actually excited because I'll get to watch you for 4 more years because I actually call the matches for Pitt on the Pitt TV, so super excited about that. But you're gonna have a great workout partner as well and Maxed Out, as well as the many others with the Panthers. But just talk about that too. I mean, the fact you're gonna have a guy like Maxed Out where you can work out with every day.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm so excited, and that was definitely one of the things on my visit that definitely helped. I mean, I'm close with all the guys in the recruiting class and stuff like that, but Mac and I definitely got close, and whenever we met at the visit, and I'm excited for it. It's gonna be fun.
Well, I know you got the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic coming up. Are you excited for your matchup? And how are you handling things that these next couple of weeks to get ready for it?
I mean, I'm super excited for it, and I think I need to go in with a different mentality than I did at Powerade, and I kind of locked up a little bit in the finals and didn't open up. And I mean, I just want to wrestle my best, and I'm going to try to do that and just have fun. it's just, I don't think there's really anything to lose, and it's just another match. So I'm excited for it.
Well, congratulations on winning not only the gold medal, but also the Outstanding Wrestler Award. It's been a lot of fun watching you throughout this high school campaign, and excited to see you in college.
Thank you for having me on here.
Thanks, Dayton.
You bet. Thanks, Dayton. And Jeff, now we'll transition over to AAA 132 pounds, where Mac Church of Waynesburg wins his second state title. He had a big matchup throughout with Braden Bauer, Colin Rath, Matt Repos. Gets it done. All close matches, 2-0, 3-1, 3-1. We talked about how Mac Church has really been opening up, but guys really shut down his offense and really held it close to the vest to not let him open the matchup. But overall, I thought he controlled all the matches, did what he needed to do to come away with the victory and come away with the second state title. Chad Ozias of Connellsville, he finished in 7th place at this weight at 132. And Eli Carr of Hempfield area and Blake Reener of Trinity, both guys were 1 win shy of getting a medal.
Yeah, I mean, just like I said with Rune Lawrence, you know, I guarantee you Mac's going to say he didn't wrestle his best. And, you know, part of that is just the way guys wrestled him too. I know he wasn't happy with some of the matches and how guys just were staying away from him and you know, not allowing him to get to his offense. But when it comes down to it, you know, you got to find a way, right? The best wrestlers, no matter what their opponent does, they find a way to score. You know, guys try to slow down David Taylor, and you know, all he did was score points. Mac Church has continued to get better every year in his career at Waynesburg, and this year I think was just an important win for him, because you look at last year, you look at all the tiebreakers, right? He's not living in a tiebreaker world anymore. He is coming out, and you know, those 2-0, those 3-1 wins, they're pretty, you know, I would say dominant 3-1 wins as you can get, right? And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. There's nobody in the state of Pennsylvania that is as good as mat management than Mac Church is. He always knows where he's at in the match. He always knows how much time's left on the clock. He's so good at just being an expert when you're wrestling, which is hard to do, right? Your mind's not thinking about it, but he's always so aware of his surroundings. He's always so aware of the clock. And, you know, I think we just saw it all get put together here this past weekend. And I think we take it for granted how good Mac Church is. Maybe he's not doing what Thane, or should I say Rune Lawrence and Dayton Pitzer are. He's just as dominant, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I would agree with you, and see if we can get him on the show. But yeah, I would agree. I mean, he had those takedowns. He gets his escape. He controls the match, and he controlled every single match in Hershey. You know, the first 2 years we talked about him keeping it close, and I think this year was just totally different. And one thing that he just pulled away from, you know, in the state tournament. And joining us now is Mac Church on the call. And Mac, we appreciate you joining us.
Yep, no problem. Can you see me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Mac, talk a little bit about your state run this year. You know, you end up coming away with a second gold medal. And this year, it seemed a little bit different for you. You know, we've talked about some of the close matches you've had the last couple of years, and these ones were close, but it just seemed like you were in control the entire time of every single match. So just talk a little bit about your run to the finals.
I mean, it was pretty tough. Even like when I first looked at the brackets, I saw I had the Bauer second, and even my first kid wasn't bad. So I mean, I knew it was going to be tough the whole time, but I felt like the way I was wrestling throughout the season, I just, you know, had to stay relaxed, and I figured I would be able to get the job done no matter. I mean, I got to beat the best kids in the bracket if I want to be the best kid, so that's what I had to do.
Yeah, and you definitely opened up your offense throughout the entire season. And, you know, talking to your coach, Kyle Shattuck, he mentioned about, you know, how guys were really just trying the best to shut you down, right? Shut down your offense and be close and be within striking distance with 30 seconds left so they'd have an opportunity to beat you. You know, talk about your mindset a little bit. Was it tough to adjust to that, you know, in Hershey this past weekend?
I mean, yeah, it was a little tough, especially, you know, when you're used to scoring like a decent amount of points. And even like when I was taking these kids down, I was a little more nervous to cut them just because of the state tournament. I was like, I didn't want to give up anything crazy. So, but I mean, I feel like I did a little better job with it. I was still scoring more than I was last year. So, but yeah, it was definitely hard, especially since at the state tournament, you don't want to, take the kid down and let him up thinking you're going to take him down 5 times and then get caught on your back. So then it's like, it's stupid that you did that.
Yeah.
When you look at your career, it's funny because, well, maybe it's not funny, but Matt Repost is a guy who kind of is linked to you in a weird way because of that freshman year. Was it kind of ironic for you, the fact that you wrestled him in the state finals this year?
No, I mean, I guess it kind of was. I thought it was pretty cool though, because of just the history we've had. I feel like a lot of people were definitely looking forward to watching that match. So that was pretty cool. But I mean, we've had a lot of, obviously a lot of history, but I mean, every match I feel like we've wrestled, it's always been exciting. So I knew it was going to be a good match. And then I wasn't even sure who was going to win that when I was looking at the other semi, him or Simcox. But once I saw I had Repost, I was like, it's, a lot of people are probably going to look forward to watching that one. So it was good.
This year, I feel like has been a different year for you. I think I told you this after the Southwest Regional, that I feel like we're seeing a different version of Mac Church. And you said it the best. You go and do really well at the Super 32 and you're in the rankings, the national rankings, and then something happens and then you fall out or something. And you feel, I think after Ironman, you said it. You said, I can be the top guy in the nation. Now you're not just believing, you're actually doing it. How do you keep that momentum going and really just keep on fighting and scrapping to get to the top of that ranking?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, anybody that knows me knows that I'm pretty disciplined with everything I do. I work really hard. So, I mean, I feel like, I'm taking a little break, the next maybe week, but I can't take much of a break. In my head, mentally, I just got to get back to doing something or I feel lazy. So I'll be back, in the gym probably tomorrow and back doing what I have to do. But I mean, competition-wise, I'll take a little break just to kind of just focus. I've been just going, doing I haven't really skipped the big tournament since I can't even remember. I've done everything. So I'm going to take a little break and then obviously not a break from training, just a break from competing. But then whatever's next is next for me. So I'm excited and I'll just keep working hard and hopefully prove that I am one of the best in the country.
And before we know it, you're going to be heading off to Virginia Tech. What was the recruiting process like for you? I mean, I know a lot of guys that say it's kind of a daunting task and it can be a little stressful. What was it like for you?
I mean, yeah, it was really stressful just because I have, at Young Guns and even on the Waynesburg team, I have a lot of friends that go to these schools and they want you to go there. And it is definitely stressful. And it comes down to a couple schools for me. And then on the visits, the visits are fun and you get to see. I was on some visits with some of my teammates, so that even makes it more fun going on visits with kids that I've been training with for years. And then it's definitely stressful, but I mean, I feel like you really got to use your family more than your friends to decide on what you want to do because it's your future, not theirs. So you got to, really break it down and make sure you really like the place, you like the coaches, the kids on the team, and everything about it, and you think it's a place that you can, accomplish your goals and everything. So I feel like that's the main thing. You gotta really do what you want to do, not what people tell you to do.
Were you and Rocco ever negotiating back and forth, like him trying to get you to Ohio State and you trying to get him to Virginia Tech?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was definitely trying to get him to Virginia Tech, and I think he was trying to get me to go to Ohio State too. But I mean, it would have been cool if we both went to the same place, and we still even kind of talk about that today. Like, what if we both went? But I mean, I feel like it's gonna be, it's gonna be so cool when we see each other at NCAAs and all these tournaments throughout the season, and then we do each other. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be weird, but it's definitely gonna be fun, and it's definitely gonna be different without him. I mean, I've been on teams with him. We've been pushing each other for years, so it would be nice to be at the same school with him. But I guess it is what it is, and we'll both still be friends and see each other down the road.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on winning your second state title, Mac, and obviously best of luck as you go through your summer of off season with training and different tournaments. And we're excited to see you come back for your senior year.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mac.
Thanks, Mac.
Yep.
Well, Jeff, we're able to pull it off once again. Every WPIAL wrestler able to join us on the show after winning state gold. And we still got some weight.
It was tough. It was tough, no doubt, but we got it. We got it, man. So I'm always a breath of sigh of relief when we get all the champions, and there could have been more too. So nine's a lot, but overall it was just complete domination for the WPIAL. You look at the numbers, in AAA, District 7 had 52 wrestlers, 34 medalists. That's that's an unreal number.
It's bonkers.
It's absolutely insane, right? So we're already pretty long in our show, but man, we got to talk about eventually sometime soon about this whole drop in the qualifier thing. And I've definitely got some ideas. I've got some thoughts on some things, some realistic, feasible ideas, I think. And I've been talking with some coaches about some things, and I know a lot of the coaches in the WPIAL are trying to make a change, and I hope it happens, because clearly we've seen those four is not enough, to be honest with you. 5 would be a better number for me, but it is what it is. We'll talk more about that. I won't belabor it.
Yeah, we'll put a pin on it, Jeff. What we'll do is I want to go ahead and finish talking about the weights we haven't got a chance to cover yet, as far as in AAA and AA with WPIAL. Next week, we're going to come back. We're going to come back for another show.
Yep.
We're going to talk about this exact topic, about the losing the qualifier, and what could we do to keep that here within the WPIAL. But we also have the NCAA's coming up this weekend. A number of WPIAL wrestlers are wrestling in it. But we have the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic coming up here in about a week and a half. So we got a lot to cover. So I think we need to have another show, Jeff. What do you think?
I don't think we should tease it. I think it's an absolute. I think we're definitely gonna have another show. And we did just get I got the green light to share the rosters for the WPIAL and Team PA teams. So I'm excited to do that. But let's talk about some of the other weights first.
Yeah, let's go ahead and recap these weights. 106 pounds for the WPIAL. Luke Willishell had one heck of a tournament. Major decision in 2 falls before obviously running into a stud in the finals, and Nathan Desmond. Willishell Latrobe finishes in 2nd place. Tyler Capusta, Franklin Regional, one heck of a tournament as well. Defeats tough Liam Flanagan in the opening round, then defeats Aaron Semena, Council Rock North, before falling to Desmond, and drops down and ends up finishing in 4th place, losing to Cement in that 3rd and 4th place match. Nico Finella of Indiana, meanwhile, he comes up 1 win shy of being on the award stand. Actually gave Desmond his toughest match in a 10-2 loss. But overall, WPIAL, Willishell, Capusta, what a tournament.
Yeah, Capusta really impressed me, looking at what he was able to do on that top half. Ed and Cement's a guy who really impressed me at the Powerade tournament, and that was a nail biter. And Cement was able to get the revenge in the 3rd and 4th place match, but Capusta, being a sophomore, being an undersized freshman last year to where he's at now, I don't think he could be happier. Nico Finella, as you mentioned, has a really good win in the first round over a senior, Luke Heilman, and then just unfortunately runs into returning state medalist Luke Sirianni of Abington Heights for that blood round match. That was a 10-8 decision. I'm sure he's disappointed, especially after making it to the WPIAL finals, but he's got plenty of more wins coming his way. Luke Willishell, man, he's as good as advertised, right? And look at what he did. Major decision, fall in 55 seconds, and then he runs into a buzzsaw, Nathan Desmond. But Luke Willishell, man, sky's the limit for him. I can't wait to see him continue to compete at a high level. I love watching him wrestle. There's certain wrestlers that are just fun to watch. He's one of them.
113 pounds, Tyler Chappell of Seneca Valley, the only WPIAL wrestler who gets on the award stand here, as he finishes in 7th place. He runs into Cole Campbell, Bethlehem Catholic, who got hot at the right time to make it to the state finals. I'm sure a little bit of a disappointing finish for Chappell. Obviously he's a guy we've talked about, a guy who can really be explosive and put a lot of points on the board, but sometimes he shuts down his offense a little bit. And it showed here, obviously, with that loss to Carson Wagner in the consolation round to drop down to 7th and 8th. Darius McMillan of Peters Township, he comes up 1 win shy of getting a medal, runs into Jack Caruso in the quarterfinals, and then drops down, and Tony Burke, the Southeast Central champs, waiting for him after he lost to Campbell as well. So tough draw there for McMillan to not be able to get to the award stand, but Tyler Chappell finishing in 7th place.
Yeah, and I know Tyler's probably disappointed. And I got to see Dylan Chappell there. Him and AHR were there. It was great to see those two.
It was phenomenal.
Two of my favorite wrestlers. And for Tebow, I think, I think a lot of that's mental. I think he just doesn't open up sometimes, and and here's the other thing. 113 was a tough weight class. Let's not forget, this wasn't a weight class that, there was a few studs at. There was a ton of guys here that were just high quality, talented wrestlers. A lot of returning state medalists, a lot of tough freshmen, a lot of guys that were just, chomping at the bit. And you had to, look at Cole Campbell. No one could have predicted Cole Campbell was going to be in the finals. Maybe some people, but not a whole lot. The kid was battling for a varsity spot just a few weeks ago, and now he's in the state final. So, for Tebow, I think a lot of it is just winning those close matches and opening up, and I think it's between the years. And he's gonna be just fine. He's still got another year to prove it. And let's not forget that 113 was a pretty stacked weight.
126 pounds. The WPIAL ends up with 3 medalists here. And how about the Dalton Perry of Central Mountain? He had to knock off 3 WPIAL guys in order to win a gold medal as a freshman. Talked about him at the Surge, Jeff, and I mentioned there that he has the potential to be a 4-timer, and he showed every bit of that, especially after his Powerade finish. But beats Xander Faturas of Waynesburg 8-3. Maddox Shaw of Thomas Jefferson gets to the semifinals. He beats Carl Schindeldecker, a returning state runner-up, and 5-0, and Perry beats him 3-1, drops Shaw down. Shaw comes back for 3rd place. Ethan Lieben, what a tournament for him. Not only does he get to the semifinals, but then he knocks off returning state champ and Jake Van D 3-2 to get to the finals. Van D had to beat Anthony Ferraro of Pine Richland, who won a pair of matches, one against Seamus Mack of District 3 Hempfield, who ended up getting on the award stand, and Cannon Hershey as well, the Southeast Central champion, to get to the quarterfinals. But Lieben gets into the finals, does drop a 6-3 decision to Perry match that really Lieben was in till the very end, and it looked like he could have potentially pulled off that victory. Lieben had a heck of a tournament. Shaw had a heck of a tournament in 3rd. Fatoras finishes in 6th place, but he ended up, after winning his opening match, comes down into consolations and wins 3 in a row, including one in the blood round over Anthony Ferraro of Pine Richland 8-3. So Ferraro 1 win away from getting a medal. But WPIAL here, very strong.
Dominating performance. And I don't know anyone who's had a better couple weeks than Anthony or Ethan Lieben. I was thinking of Anthony Ferraro because he had a huge win over Cannon Hershey, gave him his first loss of the season. But, Lieben's just been absolutely dominant recently. And after that opening win over Dante Frenzy, Van D had, he put it on Anthony Ferraro, beat him up 13-4. I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be a Northwest Regional Finals rematch here, but Ethan Lieben does what Ethan Lieben does and just absolutely, impresses us, gets a turn for the 3, and that was it. That was all he needed. And as you mentioned, he was in that match with Dalton Perry. The WPIAL overall, Xander Fatoras, from where he was back in December to be top 6 in the state, that's huge because he really turned it around. I was really impressed with him these last couple of weeks because, quite honestly, he wasn't impressing us at Powerade and some other early season tournaments. And for him to turn it around and end his career on the medal stand in Pennsylvania, that's huge.
138 pounds. Pearson Manville wins the Outstanding Wrestler Award for beating 2 defending state champions. He ends up pinning Kyler Kasak of Bethlehem Catholic when he was trailing most of that match. And then he goes to double overtime with Briar Priest of Hempfield area and defeats him 5-4. Priest had one heck of a tournament, getting to the finals and beating a guy like Dominic Findora of Downingtown West 3-1 in the semifinals to get there. Colton Stone King of Waynesburg, he finishes in 5th place. He actually dropped a loss to Findora in the consolation semifinals before beating Kelly Kakos, a guy he beat twice on that day. Lonzy Vilma of Connellsville, he was 1 win shy, losing to Jake Dune 3-2 in the blood round.
Yeah, again, another stacked weight class here. You look at the fact that Tyler Kasak, a returning undefeated state champ, finishes in third. Breyer had a phenomenal tournament here. I was really impressed with him, despite the fact that he came up short against Pearson Manville. I was really impressed with Breyer and how he was able to wrestle here. And as you mentioned, Lonzy Velma, I mean, he ran into a guy that was on a roll. He had a lot of momentum. 3-2 was that win for Jake Dune over Velma. But you look at Colton Stone King again. He had a fun match with Tyler Kasak. That was an 11-6 match. I was Matt's side for that. That was a lot of fun. Colton Stone King is a fun wrestler to watch. So I can't wait to see him at the next level.
Yeah, he went after Kasak, and it's almost like he was tackling him in a way a couple of times, the way he was going after him, and I absolutely loved the way he was challenging him. 189 pounds, the WPIAL comes away with 2 medalists, Max Stout of Mount Lebanon in 3rd place, Giuliano Marion of Franklin Regional finishing in 6th place. Breaking this really down, Jeff, I mean, Max Stout, Sonny Sasso, we talked about this. The finals matchup was going to be in the semis. Sasso wins 9-6. The way that match opened, it looked like, oh, man, Max Stout is going to run away with this. He opens up with 2 takedowns. Just seemed like he was dominating Sasso. Completely dominated the first. Sasso then dominates the second and just seemed like he took all the wind out of Stout and was able to hang on and win in the 3rd period as well to win the match 9-6. So that led Sasso to the state title. Stout drops down for 3rd. Giuliano Marion, meanwhile, he lost his first match to Sam Milligan of Strathaven 8-6. Then he goes on a tear, pins Brody Evans of Franklin Regional, or of Waynesburg, in his round 1 consolation match. He rattles off 4 straight wins to get to the consolation semifinals before finishing in 6th place. Great tournament for Marion.
Yeah, Marion was a guy who I think we had a lot of question marks about coming into the state tournament. You know, he didn't have a great regional tournament, and I think it was easy to kind of overlook him in this tournament, considering he came in 4th out of the Southwest region. I was impressed with him. You know, guys do that often. They get hot in the wrestlebacks, and for him to pin Brody Evans in what I think it was like 30 seconds, I was thinking, man, like I don't know if anyone's going to stop him coming back. And I thought he wrestled really well, and to be honest with you, Max Stout, man, I felt for him. I feel like, man, like here's a guy who wanted to follow in the legacy of his 2 older brothers. But Sonny Sasso, I got to talk to him afterwards. He said, I didn't care if I got taken down twice. I knew I was in that match. I knew I could wrestle, and he did. He changed the game. I mean, it was like a complete switch, and then it was all of a sudden his match, and he felt that momentum, and he said he felt Mac break a little bit, and he knew, he was like, all right, I can do this. So, I mean, it's a shame that match was in the semifinals, because it probably 100% it should have been the finals, but I love that match. It was a good match. Mac is a guy, one of the best in the state and best in the nation. That's the reason why he's on the Team PA for the All-Star Classic, the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic. So I'm excited to see him continue at the next level.
Yeah, it's interesting. He chose bottom in that second period, and I think giving up those back points is what turned that tide. If he goes neutral, where he got a couple of takedowns in the first, maybe the match is a little bit different. But how are you to know that you're not going to be able to get out from underneath of Sasso? So, but to me, that's where it turned in that match, was giving up those back points. 285 pounds for the WPIAL. They come away with 2 medals as well. Billy McChesney of Greensburg-Salem finishing in 6th place. Noah Tustin of Waynesburg in 7th. And really, I think for McChesney, he had state finals, on his mind, right? He ends up losing in overtime to Matthew Cruz in a match. Really, McChesney he went after Cruz. At the end of the 3rd period, he ended to overtime, was taking shots, and he took the shot where Cruz was able to spin around behind and get the takedown. And I think from there, he drops an overtime match and then drops a 2-1 decision for 5th place to finish in 6th. I think, to me, once McChesney kind of lost that finals appearance, he was just, at that point, it was his wind was kind of taken out of him a bit. Noah Tustin, meanwhile, how about the falls that he had? He ends up with a total of 4 falls. He gets 3 of them, one of which was in a 9-second match. 9-second fall in the state tournament. Unbelievable. He dropped the 3-2 decision to go to that 7th place match where he got a fall. So I believe Noah Tustin was the most falls award winner in the least amount of time.
9 seconds at the state tournament. That's insane, right? I mean, that's just nonsense. Yeah, I mean, he was impressive, but I really don't, I mean, you look at what Billy McChesney did, that he was very close to winning that match with Matt Cruz. And I think, like you said, that takes a lot out of you. But to be honest with you, 285 was a tough weight. Cruz from Williamsport, Bellotti from Clearfield, Redder from Quakertown. I mean, those guys are tough. McChesney's been close, and I think he's obviously disappointed that. But there was guys here that were state medalists last year that didn't make it onto the podium. Julian LaVenture is one of them. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But overall, you gotta be impressed with the fact that the WPIAL was able to get those 2 on the podium. Because Tustin, like you said, very easy for him to pack it in and head home after losing his first match. But getting the falls like he did, that was really impressive.
Forgot to mention, by the way, Juliana Marion, 4th place finisher in the WPIAL. Just forgot to mention that.
No, I mentioned it, so sorry.
Circling back to AA now, Jeff. Parker Senapal of Burgestown at 106 pounds. He had a pair of wins to get to the semifinals before he runs into Aaron Seidel of Northern Lebanon, drops down into Aiden Smith of Notre Dame GP, and then finishes in 5th place. Could have been potentially the 4th best wrestler in that weight. He didn't get an opportunity to wrestle Cole Hubert, but overall, Parker Senapal finishes in the top 5 in the state here at 106 pounds with a 5th place finish.
Yeah, I mean, impressive tournament for him. The returning state champion didn't repeat, so you know how tough that was. And Seidel, he really put it on him in the semifinals. That match was like, oh boy, Louis Gill. If he's going to beat up Senapal like that, 11-0. I thought Louis Gill was in a little bit of trouble. And, for Senapal's case, like you said, he didn't get to wrestle Cole Hubert, so could have been the 4th best guy in the weight class. But, he'll be back. There's a lot more wrestling for him.
113 pounds, Jack Cazalis of Quaker Valley. I think I mentioned before that Quaker Valley, I think that I said they had 3 medalists. They actually had 4 medalists, as Cazalis was able to get on the award stand as well. He finishes in 8th place.
Yeah, Cazalis overall had a great weekend, I thought, from where he was a few weeks ago. Think back to where he was at the district tournament and then the regional tournament. Really good performance by him. He was in that match with Gavin Bradley too, to be honest with you, until he ended up getting pinned. But for him to come out top 8 here, again, loaded weight class. You had returning state medalists. You had state champions here. You had it all. So for him to be top 8 in a very loaded weight class, I think that's great for him.
Yeah, the guy he lost to in 7th and 8th, Hunter Robinson, was another guy who was in contention for the state gold last year. So, yeah, it was a very deep weight at 113, and for him to get on the award stand was absolutely incredible. 120 pounds, the WPIAL ends up with a strong finish here. 3 wrestlers, all 3 of them, make it on the award stand. Cooper Hornack of Burrell finishing in 3rd place. Chris Varga of Bentworth Cooper Hornack in 4th place. Chris Varga of Bentworth in 5th place, and Logan Ritchie of Quaker Valley finishing in 8th place. I thought all 3 had a great tournament, Jeff. The big difference here with Vargo, he dropped a 7-5 decision to Brock Weiss of Jersey Shore. Match he was leading, I believe it was 5-2 after 2. Vargo had the lead, but Weiss comes back in the 3rd to get the win, and I think that broke him a little bit. Had a tough time against Hornack. Hornack was coming off of a pair of wins after losing to Jaden Pepe, and he was hot at that time. And Hornack takes advantage, gets the win over Vargo in the consolation semis. But overall, I thought all 3 WPIAL wrestlers did well.
Yeah, I thought so too. You look at Logan Ritchie and what he was able to do. I mean, he beat a tough Adam Schweitzer in that blood round match, and I was really impressed with him. From where he was, again, you look at where he was a few weeks ago to where he is now. He was 5th out of the Southwest region. That's pretty impressive that he was able to come out and finish in the top 8. Chris Varga was a surprise here because, like you said, he lost to Brock Weiss from Jersey Shore, who was tough, no doubt. But I mean, I thought Chris Varga was wrestling better than anybody in this weight class. So for him to come out and lose that semifinal match. That's a tough match to come back to after Cooper Hornack just rattled off 2 wins. Shout out to Cooper Hornack. He wrestled really well, and Coach Josh Shields has got to be happy with where he ended up. I know he didn't finish where he wanted, and he was second last year, but fourth in this weight class. Look at some of the guys that he finished above. I think he has nothing to be ashamed of there.
Yeah, definitely a great tournament for Cooper, without a doubt. 126, Gavin Suika of Burgestown, your only WPIAL wrestler who made it on the award stand. He finishes in 8th place, and what a tournament for him. He ends up dropping a 3-2 decision in the opening match to Dylan Granahan of Benton, who ends up making it to the semifinals. Granahan pulling off a couple of upsets to get there. Dropped Suika down, and all Suika did was win 3 matches in the consolations before dropping his round 4 consolation matchup. But doing that at about 75%. That's where he's at right now. Joey Vigilati, Louis Vigilati, both guys, got a chance to talk to him, and Joey Vigilati in particular mentioned about everything Suika had been through from the injury to that point, and getting through it not only physically but mentally as well. And we've talked about it, every time we've had a show about Suika and how he continues to get it done and continues to advance. And his goal is going into the season where WPIAL champ, Southwest Region champ, and get on the award stand. Doesn't get those first 2, but he does get on the award stand in Hershey. Maybe not where he wanted to be. Maybe, obviously he would love to be higher. But the fact that he gets top 8 in the state at about 75%, that is one heck of a job by that young man.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know if there was a more impressive, postseason run than what Gavin Suika did. He was just, like you said, the pain and the emotional toll, the mental toll that he's had to go through to this point for him to finish top 8, I think is just absolutely incredible. I know he probably wanted to finish higher, but the fact that he was able to advance each week, right? Because that's all it was for him. It was advancing, getting to the next level. The more time I have, off the foot, the better chance I have of reaching my ultimate goal and getting on the podium. So for him to come out and get some tough wins over some really tough opponents, he beat some tough guys to get to that to get into that 8th place match. And, I think he just embodies that just toughness that Burgestown has. Their shirt on the back says "Keep grinding," and I think he really showed why they embody that.
132 pounds for the WPIAL. Only one medalist here, but all 3 of them were in the blood round matches. Kyle McCullum, a best center, is the one that comes away with that medal with an 8th place finish. He ends up injuring his knee, I think in the second round of consolations is where he got injured, but guts through it, able to get the win over Ethan Kolb to get into the round 4 consolations, and then end up dropping down into 8th place. Peter Chacon of Montour, he was 1 win shy, dropping a 4-3 decision to Jack Martinick of Conkerton. Joey Senapal, Burgestown, I'm sure a disappointing finish for him. He ran into a tough Brandon Chiletzos, right? To end up being the state champion. Just a tough draw for Senapal to get Chiletzos in the quarterfinals. But from there, dropping down and dropping that 4-2 decision to Max Stein. In a match, really, he gave up the opening takedown in the first period, and it was just tough to come back from. One thing I've always noticed is if you give up that opening takedown in the consolations in that 1-2-2, you can't get an escape in that first period. It is hard to come back to win matches, especially at the state level. And Senapal ends up, unfortunately, falling into that fate.
Yeah, Max Stein is a really tough freshman, and he and Mason Barvitsky battled back and forth, and Barvitsky beat him actually twice here. And for Kyle McCullum, it was great for him to end his career as a state medalist once again. But Joey Senapal, no doubt, is probably a little frustrated with not getting into the top 8, especially after. I think the postseason he's had thus far was really good, and he had a really tough draw. Let's be honest. He had Kleto. He's on the same size as Kletos, and then he was either going to get Barvitsky or Stein to try to get into the top 8. So I'm sure he's disappointed, but again, you look at kind of where he was and where he's going. I think he's just going to be. I think he's going to be fine. He's a junior. as a senior, he's going to be one of the favorites to finish top 3 in the state, no doubt.
Yeah, really, honestly, I had him top 5 going into the tournament. And it's always interesting how the draw just makes all the difference, right? Because if you're in a bad spot, just like you mentioned, I mean, there's nothing he could do about it. He was going to have to beat one of those guys in order to finish and be able to get a medal. Where, if you're in a different spot where maybe Chacon or McCollum or Farah are, maybe you get a little bit of a better spot. But it's always interesting how where the brackets fall can mean the total difference. 138 pounds, Ambrose Bonai of Central Valley. He ends up coming away with a 6th place medal. 2 big wins for Bonai coming out of the gates to make it to the semifinals over Bryson Vaughn of Notre Dame GP and Cameron Milheim of Warrior Run to finish in 6th place.
I mean, he's had just an amazing couple weeks, but this really, I think, solidified how good he is and how maybe a little bit under the radar he was this year from Central Valley. And beating a guy like Bryson Vaughn, who has 35 wins on a Notre Dame Green Pond roster schedule, is really impressive. But then to do it against a freshman, Cameron Milheim, who won a very deep Northeast region. Yeah, he's a freshman versus a senior. You're saying, well, of course a senior is going to be right there battling. But Cameron had been red hot coming into this. And then Ambrose didn't let it, after that loss, sure, he lost his next 2, but they were tiebreakers, the first one, and 5-2 to Connor Saylor. So really impressed with him. For a guy who probably wasn't getting a lot of looks, he should be now.
And Jameson Poclembo of Mount Pleasant, he was 1 win shy of getting to the medal stand, losing in the blood round. 145 pounds, WPIAL does not come away with a medalist. Sean Szymanski of Burrell got the deepest. He was 2 wins shy of getting on the award stand. 152 for the WPIAL. They come away with 2 medalists here. Justin Ritchie of Quaker Valley finishing in 6th place. Tyler Barish of Best Center in 8th place. But Justin Ritchie was on a run himself, gets to the semifinals. Not only gets the opening round win over Keegan Ramsey of Notre Dame GP, but beats Kane Kettering of Reynolds. And then he knocks off Justin Hockenberry Falk of West Perry, Hockenberry Falk, to make it to the semifinals. Great tournament for Justin Ritchie.
And I think I'm going to have to go back and listen, but I'm pretty sure we both said don't be surprised if he makes it out to the semifinals, because I thought he had a phenomenal draw. And he proved us right, because he got 3 big wins right out of the gate. Probably one of the most impressive performances from the WPIAL was Justin Ritchie finishing 4th in the region and then coming back to place in the top 6. Really impressive performance by him. Tyler Barish as well. I think Tyler Barish, he had that really tough win, and then he took Devin Deem to overtime sudden victory. I was really impressed with him. For him to get onto the medal stand, very impressive way to end his junior season. I think he's going to be a force to reckon with next year as a senior. Yeah,
Barish also, he wrestled Kane Kettering in that blood round and beat him to secure his medal. 160 pounds for WPIAL. It was Christian Hyrack of Derry who finishes in 8th place, getting on the award stand. He actually had a big win over Aiden Zimmerman of Johnsonburg in the first round, 11-0, to be able to get there, and then defeats Colin Hearn of Conneaut area to advance out of the blood round and eventually get that 8th place medal. But Grant McKay of Laurel, he was a guy we thought we'd be talking to tonight, Jeff. Ends up dropping a 2-1 decision to Holden Garcia in the finals to finish in 2nd place.
Yeah, and that was a match that I'm sure he wants back, and Holden Garcia was able to get a 2-1 victory, and I just felt like Holden was wrestling really well this postseason. I thought it was going to be tough for Grant to get out on top and beat him. For Grant, it stings. I'm sure it does, because you win a title as a sophomore and then come back as a junior as a favorite, one of the top seeds here. But again, these guys, he's going to Pitt. He's got plenty of work to be done for him. And the guy who really surprised me was Christian Hirak, right? This is a guy who I definitely did not think was at the beginning of the year going to be a state medalist, but he's wrestled out of his mind this season. And I'm really impressed with him beating a state medalist in Alan Alexander, then beating a Northwest Regional champion, Aiden Zimmerman. So good showing by him, and a really surprising one in my opinion.
189 pounds for the WPIAL, Patrick Cutchamber of Quaker Valley. He's the lone medalist. He finishes in 4th place. He ends up wrestling Hayden Packer in the 3rd and 4th place match, a guy he beat 10-5 in the quarters and lost to him in overtime. But he had a tough one against Cole Krapinski of Greenville. We talked about this being a potential state finals matchup in the semis last week, and he ends up dropping an 8-5 decision. Noah Ganivas of Mount Pleasant, meanwhile, he was just 1 win away. Lost 5-1 to the eventual champ Isaac Corey of Montoursville, and then lost to Landon Caldwell 3-1 in the blood round.
Yeah, and I thought that Cutchamber Karpinski match was the probably the state finals match, but Isaac Corey said not so fast. He's a guy who bumped up, much like Brian Finnerty, from 172 to 189, thinking he had a better shot, and he ends up winning a state title. So impressive performance by Corey. Cutchamber, I'm sure he didn't want to finish in 4th place, but it was a tough bracket. He wrestled well, beat Hayden Packer 10-5, then dropped to him in sudden victory. So tough way to end his career, but he's going to get another shot on the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic for Team WPIAL.
285 pounds. The WPIAL does not end up with a wrestler on the award stand. Cam Carter Green of Washington, the closest he actually got to the blood round, but ended up losing in double overtime 4-2 to Leo Mazuka, who ended up being a 5th place finisher. So overall, probably not the best showing that you'd hope for the AA wrestlers. I believe they came away with 15 medalists and 2 champs. So hoping for a few more guys getting on the medal stand. But overall, some guys had some great performances here in AA.
Yeah, no doubt. And I just saw in a chat, Kyle Williams said, let's talk about the Bradley celebration. Gavin Bradley had one hell of a celebration after winning a title at 113. I've never seen him do anything emotionally after a win. And boy, did he just let it out, man. I loved seeing that, and I loved talking to him afterwards. That was a fun celebration.
I'll tell you what, it's always interesting. Once you see a guy win a state title, you just want to pause, right, and see what their reaction is, see what they do. Some guys have a plan, like Kilkeary talked about, he had a plan, but other guys like Gavin Bradley, I think that's just pure emotion right there coming out of him.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, and you all the work that he put in and how much of it is just relief for him almost. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun to see.
Well, Jeff, you teased it. What's the Wrestling Classic lineups look like?
So for we'll start with the WPIAL, Team WPIAL. 120, Troy Homan going to NC State. He was 2nd in the WPIAL this year, 7th in the state. Xander Fatoris from Waynesburg, he's at 126. Colton Stone King from Waynesburg, he's at 132. Ambrose Bonney from Central Valley is at 138. Jack Pletcher is moving down to 145 from Latrobe, heading the pit. We've got 3 pit guys right in a row here. You got Pletcher at 45, 52, Kellen Laffey from Pine Richland, Jared Kessler at 160 is going to be on the team. Logan Hoffman from Bell Vernon, who had a great state tournament, he's going to be in at 170. Cutchamber in at 182. Finnerty down to 195. Cole Waitman at 220, and Billy McChesney at 285. So a pretty damn good WPIAL lineup, if you ask me.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That is strong, and 14 weight classes as well. That's 13, or no, we're starting at 120, so 12. But overall, Jeff, getting that extra weight class back in there, smart move by the Classic.
Yeah, I mean, we had we had some tough discussions about the weight classes, and obviously Pennsylvania being the only state in the nation that wrestles a weird weights. We decided that it was best to go off of those national weights. So it allows us to have some flexibility and to get some guys in that normally, like Finnerty and Waitman both in, which is pretty big. So I hope Waitman gets healed up in time for him to wrestle. One area of contention you'll say is maybe Jared Kessler at 160. There was a lot of talk about him being on Team PA, but Levi Haynes from Biglerville, a guy who didn't wrestle this season in high school is the guy at 160 for Team PA. For Team PA, Grace Stem from Baltimore area. She's our 144 pounder. She's going to be wrestling in the Team PA versus Team USA. We had last year, we had Montana and DeLauder wrestle, and Grace Stem is now going to be representing the girls match for us on Team Pennsylvania. Mason Leapart from Dover, a guy we just talked about from Wrestling Vinny Kilcarry. He's the guy at 120. Jacob Van D at 126, a state champion going to Nebraska. Brandon Kletos from Notre Dame GP at 132. Briar Priest at 138. Finn Solomon at 145. Jackson Arrington, 52. Levi Haynes, 160. Nolan Lear at 170. Jack Waymeyer, Malvern Prep at 182. Max Stout from Mount Lebanon at 195. Dayton Pitzer, of course, at 220. And Nick Feldman at 285. It's a tough team, but the USA team's really stacked.
And Jeff, you brought up the girls' side. They also just finished up their state tournament as well, correct?
Yeah, it was actually at Central Dauphin, so shout out CD Rams for hosting the girls' state tournament this past Sunday, and I know a lot of people that were able to make it out there. Over 300 girls competed in it, and the WPIAL had a good showing. Some names that you may recognize: Chloe Alt of Canamac took second at 138. Isabella DeVito from Kiski area, she was third at 124. Lena Rumpler from North Allegheny, she was second at 148. There was overall 8 different place winners from the WPIAL there.
Yeah, fantastic showing by the girls, getting it done in the WPIAL. And hey, let's get some more WPIAL girls teams going so we can get more WPIAL girls on the podium.
Absolutely. I mean, we gotta sanction it. We gotta sanction girls wrestling, and I think a tournament like that shows how much it's grown in just a short period of time. So excited to see the future of girls wrestling in Pennsylvania.
Well, Jeff, it's been a long show. I hope if everyone's been sticking with us for this 2 hours and 15 minutes, we thank you because there was a lot to cover. We had 9 total state champs. We appreciate all 9 of them for joining us here today. It was great to hear from all of you, plus with the recap and looking ahead as well. But we got a lot of stuff still to cover, Jeff, coming up here next week. So we're going to be back to cover a lot of different topics like we talked about. We're going to have a recap of the NCAA tournament and the WPIAL wrestlers and how they did there. But looking ahead to the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic, we're going to give you a full preview of that, and also looking ahead to some of the topics that we've been kind of delaying talking about, right, as far as losing the extra qualifier. That's just one of the topics that we want to make sure we hit next week. So if there's any other topics anybody wants to hear about, let Jeff or I know, and we'd be happy to, let's have a discussion around it.
Yeah, let's do it. We got a lot to talk about, so I'm excited. Next week's gonna be a big week. Obviously Nationals, and then the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic. We're gonna have a lot coming at you.
So thanks again to the 9 wrestlers, and congratulations to all from the WPIAL who came home with a state medal. But for Jeff Upson, I'm Greg Warnock. Thanks for listening in, watching in to WarUp on the WPIAL.